Hello!
Hello.
It's us! The boys! We are back within the town.
So, I am somewhat remote today, so apologies for lag.
Yes, so a few disclaimers up top. Firstly, because of some slight logistical weirdness, this is running through, I am the tech host, so this is running through my big, quite powerful, but somewhat aged laptop. So it is chunking along, but there may be some slight at times. Also malfunctioning is Alex.
Yeah, so fair warning, I have been a poorly boy. So if my voice starts going...
I know, I was the one who started as the boys, but for some reason that phrasing just really hit me.
Absolutely, I'm a poorly boy who's had some trouble with his tum tum. Okay.
Oh, God.
So yeah, I currently can't see chat, and also on top of that, my voice might go a little bit, and I'm just a bit like
it's kind of evenly split between Get Well Soon Alex's and I think Ross Likes Birds is probably speaks for all the people when they say ah, ha, 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 a poorly boy.
Right, understood. So.
Oh dear.
You
roboted
hello.
for a second.
That's fine. I dared to try and load the stream. I regretted that decision and got rid of it.
Understood. No, he's alive. He's alive, everyone. And the third disclaimer is so the way that this has worked is we are going to be reading 500-word extracts of some fan fiction. Now, first up, and very important to say, all this fan fiction was sent to us. We haven't been trawling AO3, finding the weirdest tags and being like, yes, everyone shall see this fanfic. So if you are like, oh no, I wrote a really weird fanfic, what if they read it out? The only circumstance in which that would happen is if you had sent it to us. Or one of your friends who hates you has sent it to us. But I suspect in that case it probably would not have made it through the vetting procedures that I have been assured have been rigorous.
Apparently one of the rules was specifically that it had to have been provided by the writer themselves as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, brilliant. In which case...
no nominations on behalf of a person or anything, because then, they don't know.
Understood. So, yeah, literally, the only... these are... so we're doing 500-word extracts because, otherwise we could get stuck on a single fanfic. I mean, if one really catches us... Maybe we'll go hunt it down, read a bit more.
Any of them has, a significant overlap with Pokemon. I'm in. I'm extremely in with Toad as a thing, but I don't know if it's
someone must somewhere have done entity Pokemon, some Pokemon types.
Has literally never occurred to me as an idea. The entities as Pokemon is fun.
Or, a Pokemon evolution, if the entities were Pokemon types, what, yeah. That's,
Yeah, okay, so it's less like water type and more like hunt type or something.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, there's, quite a few existing Pokemon. There's way, I'm sure there must by now be some sort of, lump of meat Pokemon. Certain there is somewhere.
I mean, once they hit Trubbish, I stopped paying attention.
I love Trubbish! I mean, obviously, to me, there are 151 Pokemon, because that's what I grew up with. But occasionally, someone will be like, hey, have you seen this new Pokemon? It's stupid. And I'm like, yes, it's stupid, and I love it. See, also, I forget what it was called. The one that's like a pot of tea that's also a ghost.
Ooh, okay, you have told me of this one. Yes, I looked it up. It looked delightful.
It's cute. It's a ghost. Poltergeist. Poltegeist. That's the one.
Oh, good name.
So yes, and sort of sub disclaimer, I guess, is I have personally never read any Magnus Archives fanfic before this. We have, I mean, certainly speaking for myself, and I think speaking for Alex, we have a huge amount of like quite genuine respect for fan fiction as an art form.
Most Western literature is basically fan fiction.
I mean,
someone went, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to carry on with this. It's going somewhere.
But that said, we might also be making some light fun. Not in the sense of mockery. I don't think we're going to be like, oh, this is rubbish. But you know, there might be some silly voices. There might be some light-hearted commentary.
So, couple of extra things is one. This is a live stream as one of the rewards for the Kickstarter fundraising. I don't think we've actually said that. So,
no, of course, this isn't.
Who's like, I don't know what this is. This is part of that. And just to reiterate what Jonny says, I have read, I believe, 2 fanfics ever, based on ones that were like told to me. One was because someone went, "Is this just an episode? Like, has someone just started to claim that they're writing new content and it's an unreleased episode?" So I read like the first couple of paragraphs and went, "No, they've just really got the tone nailed, and they kind of predicted what's going to happen in an episode." That was like years ago.
I don't remember this.
Oh no, it wasn't even raised. It was literally just as a comms check. It was like, we're worried. Has someone like looked ahead? And I was like, oh no, you're fine. And then the other one was I have very little memory beyond I didn't believe someone and was told to check a particularly sexy sex one. And I read the first couple of paragraphs.
And how sexy was it, Alex?
It had a lot of synonyms immediately. That's all I remember.
Someone's asking whether we read non-TMA fan fiction. I have in the past. I don't do so. It's to a certain degree. It's not something I have. Like, I don't have a lot of free time, and so like the entertainment and media I consume when I do have time tends to be stuff I'm quite like deliberate about. And also to a certain degree, it's not how I grew up engaging in fandom. To a certain degree, like I don't know. I love consuming. I love reading. I love playing. I love watching things, and then I love thinking about them. But I don't know. I've never had the urge to go and find more of it from other people, if that makes sense. There's a part of me that's like, I'm a weirdly a bit of a canon purist, where I'm like, yes, but this didn't actually happen, did it?
See, this is my problem, is that I have no issue with it as a thing. I never pursue it myself, because there's a weird bit of my brain going, well, this bit of the fiction isn't real. And let's just unpack that sentence a moment. Like,
yeah, I know, it's
isn't real.
It doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous.
Nonsense. Makes no sense. And it's such a weird bias, but as a result, like, I genuinely, that was a thing for me for a while. And yeah, at this point, it's just become a time thing. I occasionally get time to like go to bed, but
yeah. Apparently I'm slightly out of sync. I'm just gonna very quickly do a clap test, see if I can fix that. So in the chat, could you tell me whether I'm ahead or behind when I clap? Oh, on time. Everyone else is saying okay. So it was just grand. Just because, like, given this is mainly going to be a stream of our faces saying words, thought it might be worth taking a moment to make sure that those matched.
There's one last bit of business that I should mention, which is we have not read any of these. Again, no. I've read something like 4 paragraphs of fan fiction in the last 7 years to do with this stuff. And for this specifically, none of these have ever... I don't even know what's on the list. But that said, it's likely that there are going to be various spoilers for the Magnus archives, the podcast, as in the one that's out. So, you know, if you haven't finished, please be aware. I don't know what those spoilers are. Same for Trigger Warning.
So some of them have been we have been given some not exactly tags,
at least.
But so there's one here that says like brackets post lonely exit angst, for instance. So we've got little... this one says post finale body horror. Excited for that one.
Do you reckon that's going to be a sufficiently moist horror for you, Jonny? You're the one who complains if it's too dry. Your words.
I grew up on Lovecraft and Clive Barker. Like, it's like horror's wet. That's not my fault. So we'll give we'll give those up top. So if you're like, oh, I'm on the last few episodes, I don't want to listen to anything post finale, you can duck out for. I wouldn't imagine any of these are going to run more than 10 odd minutes, but we will see.
Don't know.
I don't know.
Also, thinking says to be delivered 1 word a minute, like that.
Also, thinking about like fan fiction and that sort of thing, I think also I have a thing where like I really like. So, I think there are two competing. When a canonical work, piece of media, does something that you think doesn't like work or you don't like or this sort of thing, I think there are two competing impulses. There's the AU impulse, or the fix it fic impulse, where it's like, oh, you want to change it, you want to like write or consume works in which it was different. But mine is very much like, okay, how do I make this, how do I square this with the rest of the stuff? Like, this is canon, but this is also canon. They don't make any sense together. How can I make them make sense within my own head? So I quite like that sort of jigsaw approach.
For me, there's two types that sort of tickle my interest, which is well done crossover stuff, which hits that thing of like, and by well done I don't mean like, and then Superman landed and everyone was like, gee whiz, it's Superman. I mean more like they are properly integrated. And then the other one is I've spoken with Helen about this a long time ago, Gould. I'm a sucker for hero turned bad in a way that hero's never going to turn bad in the actual like canon stuff, like ever. It's just not on the cards. That interests me a little bit, but that's how
I can't like crossover stuff has never really hit me, and I was just thinking about it, and I think I know why. I think I was put off crossover stuff at a very young age because my dad collects old Marvel comics. So I grew up reading old sort of 60s and 70s Marvel, mostly X-Men because I watched that cartoon.
X-Men is a tough read in that period.
Yeah,
X-Men's a tough read.
Yeah, so because I watched the 90s cartoon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the bit where in the middle of the fight someone goes down and it goes into a minor key, it's like. But anyway, and so I was like, oh, X-Men, we've got some comics of that. I'll read them. And they weren't like, that wasn't the cartoon I was watching.
Yep.
But B, they kept doing crossovers with other like Marvel comics franchises. I never knew who these people were. And because these comics would have been coming out at the same time, you only ever got half the story, or the other half being told in like the other comic. And so I always hated those issues because I was like, who are these people? Where's the rest of the story? I don't know what's happening.
I mean, what you're describing is like 60% of the X-Men.
I mean, well,
like,
yeah, innit?
It's just a lot.
Sorry, I just saw a comment. Cinnamon bread, they're stalling.
You know what? Fair.
Little bit. All right. Okay. Let's dive in. So we've divided. It's been divided.
Do we do these in order, or do we pick randomly? What do you think?
Let's dot around. So we've got we've got two chunky categories. There's a chunky category called John Martin, and a chunky category called General. And then we have two very small categories with a couple of fics in a piece. One of which is John Elias, and the other of which is Other Ships. So shall we? Let's start. Let's pull the band-aid off. Let's start with a John Martin. Any of these titles appeal to yous?
Well, the problem is, I'm actually more interested in the writer names. I'm a sucker for a good handle, so bear with me. What have we got here? I'd be tempted to start with Good Cows.
Good Cows?
Cows.
Okay, Good Cows. Good Cows by Reeah. This is brackets fluff taken before disaster. Okay, let me just get down to this. Okay. Good Cows is a...
I'll read the Martin bits, and then you can read the rest. How about that?
Okay. So we've got, I believe this is a summary up top. Good Cows is a story about Martin struggling to recover from the effects of the lonely at the Scottish safe house. He and John go for a walk together, meet their first good cow, and attempt to communicate their feelings like adults. Watching John fuss over the cow, who was apparently really so magnificently handsome, yes he is, Martin is once again overwhelmed by the burning tight feeling in his chest and has to grip hold of the fence to steady himself. Desperate for a source of distraction, Martin finds himself saying,
"Did you know that cows have friends?"
John is now multitasking between feeding the cow grass and running the fingers of his scarred hand through the long brown fur of its neck. "No, I didn't know that," he says happily. "How do you know if cows are friends?"
Well, if there's a big herd in a field, sometimes you'll see pairs or small groups standing and grazing together, and they're the friends.
Martin pauses.
If you see a cow all on its own, that means it doesn't have any friends.
John's attention immediately snaps away from the cow and onto Martin. All traces of his earlier delight are gone, and he is wearing the stubborn expression that means the next words out of his mouth will be some variation of, "Actually, I really must disagree."
Forget I said anything.
Martin says quickly.
I'm just being stupid. Don't worry about it.
"I don't think it follows," John says firmly, "that just because this cow is on his own right now, that he doesn't have any friends. I think he probably has a whole herd of friends, and family, and others who care about him."
So why is he all alone out here then?
Martin interrupts. "I don't know. There could be lots of reasons." John hesitates. "Maybe he just needs some
what? Some fresh air?"
Martin says sarcastically. "Some time." John finishes softly. "It's okay if he needs some time." Oh, there's that lump in his throat again. "I think," John says slowly, looking at the cow and patting its neck again, "that before too long this cow will be back with all his friends, and they'll all tell him that even though they missed him terribly while he was away, they didn't mind waiting until he was ready to come back, because they love him very much." Martin swallows thickly.
"He must be a really lucky cow."
"Luck has nothing to do with it," John says. "He's a good cow, and he deserves good things." Unable to reply, Martin just nods. John seems satisfied with that, and the two continue to feed and pet the good cow until it decides it has had enough of their attention and wanders away from the fence. As they resume their walk, John grimaces at his hand, which is covered in cow saliva and bits of grass. He tries to scrub it clean on his pants, but is very unsuccessful. Then John gasps, because without saying anything, Martin has reached out and taken his hand. It is tacky and still slightly damp, and honestly feels awful, but it is also wonderfully worth it.
That was great.
That was nice. That was really nice.
That was really great. Who wrote that? That was a fantastic.
One constructive comment.
Reeah.
That obviously John is wiping his hand on his trousers.
What did they
write?
wrote?
Pants.
Right. No. He unbuckled. Wiped his pants and rebuckled. Okay, they were very clear on that. No, that was great. That was really nice.
That's nice.
That was lovely.
I don't actually know a huge amount about Highland cows. Is it safe to approach and just start fussing one?
Grew up around a lot of livestock. It kind of depends a bit more on you than the cow.
Interesting.
Cows are generally quite social creatures, but also if they've been around a lot of people who are weird, they can be weird. It mostly comes down to stuff like carving, and if you've got a dog, no, stay away.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, it's mostly if you're surrounded by a bunch of heifers, you'll be all right as long as you're not silly. But that's you don't want to be near like a.
But I love to be silly around heifers, Alex.
Look, okay, there's nothing wrong with my sentence. That made perfect sense. I have noticed that my colour's gone like super mega white though, which is interesting.
I every time before a stream I spend so long like trying to colour balance everything, and then for some reason as soon as it goes, like the light outside will slightly change and I'm just a ghost.
Yeah, it's an odd one. I'll make adjustments at my end so I'm a little visible, but that was lovely. I really liked that one.
Yeah,
a lot.
That was fun.
That was great.
So, what is? Shall we nab one from general?
Okay, let's nab one from general. Let's have a look what we got. Whoa, that is bright. Great. So look, we've got. Oh, all right. I only got as far as like the third one. I would like to read on the factual particulars of the death of Mrs Blackwood.
Brackets Victorian AU.
I would very much like to read this.
This is from Saintbleeding.
Okay, give me a second to get to the story.
So, retelling of canon-ish, diverging around season 4, but set in the early 1880s.
1 second, I just want to check. Do you want to read any of it, or shall I do the whole lot? How do you want to do it?
Oh, I'll read The Gentleman.
Okay. It's quite difficult to gauge how to do it because we've no idea where it's going.
This is the fun.
All right.
You just charge blindly in. That's the key.
My attention was grasped rather completely when the gentleman who was, I would learn a moment later, standing with a frown in the doorway, spoke.
Blackwood, I presume,
said he in the curt tone of a schoolmaster. I turned around, quickly. Too quickly, I will not deny my own foolishness. So quickly, in fact, that I knocked an inkwell which was resting on the surface of the desk to the floor, where it shattered. An ache in my chest as I use my own There is an ache in my chest as I use my own ink to write it down. Yes, I said oafishly. Once again, I can scarce deny the truth. To my own credit, I will note that I knelt, indelibly staining my trousers in the process, for which transgression my housekeeper has registered her distinct displeasure several times since I returned home this evening, and began attempting to gather the shards of glass in the palm of one hand. I felt the smart as one particularly jagged edge pierced my skin. It was not so terrible a wound, I am pleased to report, but the blood stained my sack coat. Again, my housekeeper is mightily displeased with me today. She is not the only one.
Good God,
said the gentleman, who, I noted, through the increasing gulf in our presentation as I knelt, soaking in the mottled black and red, was dressed very finely in grey, with a yellowish waistcoat and a cravat secured with a pin, whose head was a small, gleaming pearl.
And you are the very best the director could find, are you?
No, sir, I said far too hastily. The gentleman scoffed, and when I dared to glance in his direction, he was worrying his moustache in his teeth.
I suspected as much,
said the gentleman.
Nevertheless,
he continued,
I suppose you are already here.
Indeed, sir.
Though I hope most sincerely you were not intending to enter my employ wearing...
At his pause, I lifted my head, to see him gesticulate with his cane in my general direction, disdain on his countenance.
That, Blackwood.
I cannot account for the outrageousness of my next remark, except by saying that I, Martin Blackwood, along with being an oaf, a fool, and an utterly unsuccessful finagler, have not a single social grace to my name. I don't see why I wouldn't, sir. The man froze where he stood, a sudden affronted bloodlessness in his cheeks.
Because I have instructed you otherwise.
There fell over the two of us a frigid silence for a moment. I cannot say how long, for, to me, it felt an eternity.
Sims.
He said icily. My heart froze in my chest.
Head Archivist.
A pleasure to make your acquaintance, sir, I said, but my voice trembled as my heart began instead to race.
I dearly wish I could return the sentiment, Blackwood,
said Mr. Sims, the clicking of his cane resuming as he brushed past me to the door of his office, which he unlocked, entered, and locked from the inside, without another word. I like that one. I'm a sucker for a cane, by the way.
I don't know why, but translating the season 1 John vibe to a Victorian it makes it feel so much harsher.
Really hard. It's just like, oh, dude, come on now, go out and eat an ice cream. You'll be fine. That was really
they had invented ice creams in the Victorian era, of course.
So confession time. I'm a really sucker. I am a sucker for.
Oh, you're a really sucker. Yeah.
I'm a really sucker. I'm a sucker for really arduously convoluted Victorian prose. 16 subclauses and you're not sure where you're even at halfway through the page. Whoever wrote that, I'll double check again. That was
Saintbleeding.
Oh, Saintbleeding. Thank you for giving me such a delicious grammatical sandwich. Oh.
Okay.
Great word choice as well, by the way. You hit your time frames really nicely.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna grab another John Martin, I think.
Okay, what are you going for?
Let's see. Let's go with most of these are fluff, it says, so which makes sense. But let's go with an. Actually, no. Let's go with the fluff first. Let's go with the fluff first because
okay, I'm getting a bit of tonal whiplash here, Johnny. Let's go
fluff.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Ashra's "How to Care for Your Humans: A Simple Guide." This is post-canon fluff.
Yes, great title. I'm immediately in.
Okay. So this is John and Martin's post-canon life from the point of view of their cat. There had been some discussions between John and Martin early on about whether Cleo would be allowed to sleep with them. Cleo had put an end to this debate by waiting until she was sure they were asleep, then yowling at the bedroom door until a harassed-looking Martin let her in. She doesn't feel remotely bad about this. They could have avoided a lot of pain by simply leaving the door open. Cleo prefers to use positive reinforcement as a rule, but humans can be immensely stupid. How can she possibly protect them if she's not even in the room? She snuggles up to Martin, as John is a restless sleeper, and even Cleo is not always fast enough to avoid being kicked. Martin, on the other hand, sleeps like a rock, steady and warm and unmoving. Occasionally his feet will twitch temptingly, but Cleo has a distinct memory of being banished to the spare room the last time she pounced on them, so she forbears and grooms John's hair instead. For all that John flails in his sleep like a startled pigeon, he rarely wakes up once he's nodded off, and Cleo is able to arrange his hair to her satisfaction. Martin sleeps very lightly. Some nights he'll slip out of bed and watch TV, taking care to give Cleo some cheese from his sandwich.
Our little secret,
he tells her with a wink.
Tell John, or he'll start going on about feline hypertension again.
On other nights, Martin doesn't seem to see her at all. The TV stays dark and quiet. The fridge remains unopened. He'll sit, hunched up and shivering on the sofa, his scent unpleasantly muddied with dark threads of panic. Initially Cleo had been confused, as there were no obvious threats nearby. Perhaps he was cold, or sick, she thought, and she had huddled close to him in the pre-dawn light, sharing what heat she could, the way she had done with her kittens. Eventually Martin had uncoiled himself enough for Cleo to fit into his lap, and she'd crawled into the rigid circle of his arms in an attempt to warm him up properly. He had cried into her fur then, whispering to her in choked-off, stumbling sentences that all seemed to orbit around the words love and John and sorry. Having wet fur was one of Cleo's least favourite things in the world, but she had endured this treatment with only minor squirming, until the tears had eased, and the sun was peeking over the horizon.
Right. Extra cheese for you today.
Martin had said at last, wiping his face. He'd kissed the top of her head, and Cleo had been relieved that his smell was returning to normal. She'd followed him into the kitchen and happily accepted her reward, licking her lips and watching Martin rummaging in the cupboards for the tea bags. Taking care of humans was a lot of work, Cleo mused, but the perks were well worth it.
Oh,
don't feed your cats cheese! Like, it's not about feline hypertension, it's about the litter trays. Trust me, our cats are cheese fiends. And if we leave any on the... No, not a little cheese. Not a little cheese. The smell. The smell.
Mostly...
They cannot have a little cheese.
See, mostly reading that one, all I was...
It's not good for them. It's not good for me when I have to clean out the litter trays.
Oh,
no cheese.
Feels like the mistake is being around once the cheese is consumed. Go out for a healthy walk that lasts exactly until the litter...
It's going to wait there. It's going to be there. Like, when I get back, it's still going to be there. Anyway. That is... me,
mostly I was sat there going, if I replace Cleo with Casper, I know what happens. You know, Martin sat there, sad. Meow! Move! Meow! In my spot! Meow! Move! Sadly, Martin moved along. Move more! My sofa! Meow!
Casper is not the most sympathetic of... not the most sympathetic.
He's very easygoing. Okay, I have seen small children pick him up and like throw him, and he'll just be like, eh. But at the same time, he is not delicate. He is a robust animal, both emotionally and physically.
Right, I believe it's your choice, your deal.
I want to go for a weird one.
Okay.
For a weird one. What have we got? Let's go for...
Sorry, I just saw it on the comments. You need one of those self-cleaning litter boxes and cats that don't rip them apart and pee on the motor. Brackets real story. Yeah, like, the thing is, all these... Like, all these inventions that are like, it'll make your life, you're looking after your cat so much easier. Yeah, it does for like 2 days, and then your cat breaks it. Ultimately, it's, you know.
Right, I am going to go with by Sage, Letter of an Extremely Tired Therapist.
Brackets, humour.
The notice of retirement from a therapist that the Archivist recommends to statement givers who require support. Dear Archivist, we have not corresponded directly, but based on my steady influx of clients, I imagine Gertrude handed over my information before her resignation. Given my long-term work relationship with the Magnus Institute, and by extension the Archivist, it's only right to notify you of my impending retirement. I'd tell you not to regard this letter as a complaint, but if you're anything like your predecessor, lying would be a waste of time. As flattered as I am that you find my services fit to recommend, you have been directing patients my way long enough for me to establish a professional opinion on the matter of your operation. I am aware that the Magnus Institute is first and foremost a research facility. However, I would be remiss in my duty to therapist kind if I didn't suggest that you hire an on-site mental health specialist. While I appreciate the Institute's indirect support of my practice, I have finally come to terms with my inability to handle conditions of the nature your statement givers present. Several of my clients have gone missing, which I suspect a few of my other clients have something to do with, and I think you might have an infestation, because after such constant contact with your victims, my office is full of insects with delusions of grandeur. Maybe I'd approach this with a different tone, if it were just the bugs and the alarming stories that keep me up at night. I might even ignore the mysterious woman who asked me why I serve the Ceaseless Watcher with a lack of context that I beg you not to provide. We actually had quite a rewarding session after that jarring introduction. She expressed some concerns about your behaviour in the workplace. Apparently you've been having trouble accepting her identity as Helen. I don't normally violate patient confidentiality, but there's a separate clause regarding figures who emerge from phantom doors, windows or potholes. As of late, my patients give uncommonly comprehensive answers to my simple questions. They tell me everything. Things they don't want me to know. Things I don't want me to know. This is the last straw. It's well timed that I abandon my practice. Helen seems to agree with my assessment. She sent me a gift basket containing a note of congratulations on my retirement and a small bag of teeth, enclosed, and a melon baller. Please lose my contact. If you have any other therapists on file, I would appreciate some recommendations, as I am now in the market. Regards, an extremely tired therapist, London. P.S. You should know that first sessions with your statement givers are usually spent with a relatively uniform discussion of exactly which childhood traumas the condescending man with the tape recorder triggered. You may want to do some personal work on your communication skills. Good use of format, that. Well done.
That was fun.
Like that.
I like that.
Big fan.
Like that.
So here's a fun one that people won't know. So there's a school of literature which I actually think a lot of these fanfics fall into, which I quite like, which is have you ever heard of like formal minimalist fiction? So formally minimalist fiction was a very, very specific school that focused on how do you fit the most amount of story into the least amount of like words and sentencing. So I will give, like, as an example, this is quite a sad one, what's considered like the minimalist masterwork is pair of baby booties for sale, hardly worn, full stop. And that's never worn, that's as much story as you can squeeze into a sentence. This sort of hits a similar, like, a lot of these fan fictions are hitting a similar, like, how much can we, because it's got so much assumed knowledge. It's actually quite fun, because again, I've not read much fan fiction. It sort of,
to be fair, I can make that. I can turn that from a sad story into a happy story with 2 more words. For sale, baby shoes, never worn, massive baby.
You know what? You should enter that into a competition. I think you're on to a winner. Chat must have liked that. I can't see anyone because it'll break my internet today.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of people saying massive baby.
Massive baby. Is it too late to add massive baby to protocol, Johnny? We can squeeze a massive
no,
baby
absolutely
in,
not.
right?
Absolutely not. We can do whatever we like.
Massive baby. For some reason, when you say the words massive baby, like, it's a legitimate existential threat, is what I'm imagining.
Well, yeah, that's because most
of baby booties, and then massive baby, and there's like a destroyed house in the background, and there's military helicopters flying in over the hills.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, that's because I've done a non-zero amount of work in the kaiju space.
Yeah.
So
kaiju. Right, you're up, Johnny.
Yes. What's my choice? Ooh. You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with one of the 2 from the John Elias section.
Understood.
So I'm gonna go with Raven Xavier, Indulgences. There is a note that this excerpt is more gen than shippy.
I don't know what that means.
Well, it means that this is the wider. It probably means the wider fic is quite ship heavy, but this particular 500 word section is not concentrating on the ship stuff. It is more like general. Okay, chat is. I'm seeing a lot of oh no's in chat. So
it's just occurred to me that a bunch of chat may have read these already.
Yeah, loads of them have. Like every time we've picked one, there's like a good dozen people being like, "Oh, it's this one."
Yeah, that didn't. I'll be honest. I occasionally forget humans exist, and then they interact with one another.
Yeah. I'm going to. I'm probably going to say. I know that some people find John Elias unpleasant ship. So if you want to mute it, I'll give a big thumbs up once we're finished reading it. So that said, I don't like none of these are going to include like. Basically, if any of the excerpts had actual like properly horny stuff in, they probably didn't get through the vetting, so you don't need to worry too much about that.
They
But
shouldn't
yes.
have. I can't say if they did or not because I literally have never seen these before.
But okay, so this takes place pre-canon, a few months after John started working at the Institute. Elias, who does not yet have plans to make him archivist specifically, invites him to his flat so they can study together a lightner that Elias still keeps in his own private library. His own private library. That lightner, which had never been a lightner at all, That lightner, which had never been a lightner at all, was a battered journal that held the initials J.M. Elias took it carefully out, brushing a nostalgic thumb over it.
There it is.
He said quietly.
I wouldn't open it if I were you, of course, even if you might feel compelled to.
John hummed, eyes entirely focused on it. What is it? He asked, his voice lower.
I strongly believe it used to be the personal diary of Jonah Magnus.
John's eyebrows raised in surprise. Really?
Never went further than a page or two.
Elias told him.
But the writing is consistent with the letters that were left at the Institute, as well as other writings. The dates matched.
But I thought Lightner...
Well, he never quite understood what he did to those books.
Right. John's hand rose up. Can I... His fingers were already on the journal's spine. Elias felt a pleasant shiver down the back of his neck.
You're aware of how dangerous it is,
he said, touching John's wrist lightly.
I don't think I can, in all good conscience, let you do something that might endanger you, Jonathan.
But... Elias pulled the journal back against him. He too felt it. The itch, the curiosity to open the journal, to see if what he'd written so many years ago, when he was still young and quite foolish, was still what the journal would present now, if read. If it had morphed enough that there might be something new to discover in its pages today. But practice had made him quite good at ignoring the urge, and he quickly and efficiently sealed the journal back in his box. What's the point of having it if not to study it? John asked, almost petulantly, watching him intently.
Keep the general public safer, for one thing,
Elias pointed out. He let go of the box and turned back to John, examining him keenly.
How do you feel, John?
Fine, John said. If a little... bereft.
Yes, I expect you would. Do you realize the hold it has on you, despite not even opening it?
John opened his mouth, then closed it back soundlessly, colour draining from his face. Elias let him sink back into his memory of Mr. Spider, the horrific powerlessness that still woke him up some nights when he worked too long on Lightner and his books. He carefully reached out and squeezed his arm.
Quite all right. You know how those books are.
Yes, John breathed quietly. His hands were shaking just a bit. Yes, God, Elias, I'm sorry.
It takes a lot to resist,
Elias reassured him.
You're still quite young, but I don't doubt one day you'll be able to recognize their power and sufficiently fight against it.
I wasn't giving a thumbs up to you, Alex. I was signalling people who might have muted the stream that the...
So was I. It can be good. Two things.
Yeah, all right.
There's one thing when writing Elias that this is got bang on.
Yeah.
Which is every line has to be secretly shitty. That was always the rule. It was never
he's such a fucking prick.
Like that was always the rule. It was never good morning. It was always something like, "Oh, you've arrived." Just every line. That was always the rule.
Because then it goes from like lightly shitty boss to like horrible villain.
Yeah. But it was just I forgot what it was like writing him. Every line had to be a dickhead line.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that. Okay.
Right, you're up.
I'm up. I'm going to read them from the bottom up again now to just make sure that I'm not getting sucked into the early ones.
Sure. To be fair, we haven't actually done too many of the early ones. Well, actually, no. We've done more of the early ones than the late ones. We can do it.
Okay, there's one again. I'm a sucker for a good title. Shinyopals. Beholding the GDPR, how the Magnus Institute updated its privacy policy for the 21st century and only caused one nervous breakdown in the process. Good titles are good titles.
GDPR. Oh, GDPR. Okay. Alright,
let's have a look.
God. Run up to the unknowing.
I was going to say, I read the first half sentence and was like, oh, this is GDPR. In the run-up to the unknowing, the Magnus Institute is forced to hire a data protection officer to bring it into compliance with the soon-to-become legal GDPR. An epistolary fic of emails and instant messages as DPO Chris Davies tries to implement policies and procedures and training, and also get hold of the head archivist who keeps disappearing. This
is a link. We've got a...
Wowzer! Okay.
Apparently the formatting won't transfer across. Interesting.
Well, this feels like a trap.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the chat seems to be very,
this is really well formatted.
All right, I'll have a look.
Oh, I'm a sucker for... Oh, okay, shinyopals, you've done a great job here. I'm on board with this, right? You ready?
Yes.
You got it?
Actually, no, not quite.
I think this might be one that I just... if I read the Christopher Davies emails and messages, and you read the Jonathan Sims ones.
Okay. From Jonathan Sims to Christopher Davis. Date 23rd June 2017, 16:03. Subject: out of the office. Ray, unauthorized access of someone's personal data.
Oh, apparently I'm ceased to exist.
Oh, what have I done? Have I done something?
I got a message from Jess that just says Alex is gone.
Alex is gone. Okay.
But you can hear me. You can hear me, so I have.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Oh no, you're back. You're back. You have reappeared. I think that was a Discord thing.
Oh, okay.
Anything else? But okay.
Okay. Sorry.
From Jonathan Sims to Christopher Davis. Date 23rd June 2017, 16:03. Subject: out of the office. Ray, unauthorized access of someone's personal data. Out of the country until at least the end of June. Unless your inquiry is apocalyptic, I will not be getting back to you, ever. If you're still seeing this message in July, please assume I have been kidnapped again, attacked, dismembered, or murdered, and inform Martin Blackwood at themagnusinstitute.ac.uk.
Give me a moment.
Yeah, no, the .ac.uk, yeah, okay, congratulations, Shiny Opal.
Oh, wow.
.uk.
Okay. I'm so in. This is very my job.
That was
from Christopher Davies to
you've gone again, but we can hear you. You'll be back.
Okay. From Christopher Davies to Jonathan Sims. CC Elias Bouchard. Date 23rd June 2017, 1600. Subject: unauthorized access of someone's personal data. Hi, John. I've received an extremely concerning report from Antonia Loretta in payroll. She claims you were able to tell her the exact salaries of a number of members of the Institute and recount details from a personal conversation she'd had with her wife the previous day. I understand that as recently as a few months ago, the Institute was a bit fast and loose with confidentiality, and that we've yet to have a chance to sit down and talk through what GDPR and data protection means. But as a head of department, I need you to be setting an example. Surely even you must realise that knowing and reporting employees' salary data isn't acceptable. Kind regards, Chris Davies, Data Protection Officer, the Magnus Institute, blah blah blah. It occurs to me, if these are emails, should we be reading them from the bottom up as a thread or top down?
Top down. That's how it's formatted.
Okay.
So MIIM Jonathan Sims conversation with Martin Blackwood.
Hi John, how's China?
Hello Martin. Working lots.
I'm shocked. Found anything interesting?
Too tired to type it all. I could phone. Call with Martin Blackwood.
Oh, 30, yeah.
50,
okay.
Yeah.
So according to the mods, this one is a bottom up. We've gone backwards.
We've gone back. What do you mean? What do you mean it's a bottom up? Okay.
Mods, help! I cannot.
Oh, Alex, you keep vanishing. It's It's only been since... Hold on, maybe if I... You're back. You might need to read this one alone. For some reason, you came back when I closed the window and started vanishing when I opened the window.
Okay. So
I have no idea why it might be.
Oh, I see what it is. It's because it's epistolary, right? So what they've done is there is divided, like, so they've squared records with a dividing line between the records.
Sure.
Some of the records are in an email format, so it's like date 23rd of June 2017 16, and then it's 23rd of June 2017 1603. So that should have been bottom to top, but then the instant messages are in order. I'm with it.
Okay.
I'm with it.
Okay.
I'll read all of them then.
Yep.
And
you can just do an impression of me. That's fine.
It's all good. So I'll redo what I've done quickly, but yeah, thank you, Jess. I now understand what's going on. So, from Christopher Davies to Jonathan Sims, CC Elias Bouchard, 23rd June 2017, 1600. Unauthorized access to someone's personal data. Hi, John. I've received an extremely concerning report from Antonia Loretta in payroll. She claims you were able to tell her the exact salaries of a number of members of the Institute and recount details from a personal conversation she'd had with her wife the previous day. I understand that as recently as a few months ago, the Institute was a bit fast and loose with confidentiality, and that we've yet to have a chance to sit down and talk through what GDPR and data protection means. But as a head of department, I need you to be setting an example. Surely even you must realise that knowing and reporting employee salary data isn't acceptable. Kind regards, Chris Davies, Data Protection Officer. Reply: out of office, out of the country until at least the end of June. Unless your inquiry is apocalyptic, I will not be getting back to you ever. If you're still seeing this message in July, please assume I've been kidnapped again, attacked, dismembered, or murdered, and inform Martin Blackwood at themagnusinstitute.ac.uk. Right. Got it. Instant message with Jonathan Sims. Hi, John. How's China? Hello, Martin. Working lots. I'm shocked. Found anything interesting? Too tired to type it all. I could phone. Call with Martin Blackwood. Duration 53 minutes. Please remember your messages will be monitored in accordance with Institute IT policy. And then, if I read this in the right order, from Jonathan Sims to Christopher Davies, date 27th June 2017, 4:11 AM. Subject: attachments, answers.txt. From Christopher Davies to Jonathan Sims, 27th June 2017, 11:43. Hi, John. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Double question mark. You haven't even done the data protection training yet. I haven't even sent you the test, and you've just attached all the answers without the questions. Chris. Jonathan Sims to Christopher Davies, 1603. They're the right answers, though. Instant message. Jonathan Sims, Martin Blackwood. Hi, John. How's America? You're probably still asleep. Time difference. I keep forgetting. Little request. Oh, sorry. This is a tricky one to read out for a group. Okay. Conversation with Martin Blackwood. Hi, John. How's America? 11:45. 12:04. You're probably still asleep. Time difference. I keep forgetting. Little request. Your out of office message? The one that's like, I might have been kidnapped or murdered? Any chance you can change it to something less that? Only I've had 14 complaints, including 5 from the public, who actually I'm surprised you're emailing when I know you hate dealing with them anyway. Also, to be honest, I don't love the dismembered bit myself. 12:23. I mean, it's not like you're actually going to get kidnapped again. 12:29. John, please message me back. Missed call from Martin Blackwood, 13:08. That was the lot. Those are really well written, and I absolutely... I bastardized it. I'm really sorry. It's great. I just mucked it up. That should have had a better read. I really liked that.
That last message has... So it puts me in mind of like years back when I was meeting Sash somewhere and like we were meeting at a shop or something like that, and like I got a message from that was like, oh, on the bus. And I was like, cool, see you soon. Don't get murdered. And then from his point of view, phone dies, bus gets rerouted, and it takes them 2 more hours before she actually arrived and met me. So for 2 hours, I was like, oh no. The last message I sent was "Don't get murdered."
You're gonna look.
And
so
I haven't heard of them for 2 hours. So I was like, no, obviously.
You might as well just
Obviously.
tattoo the words "crime suspect" on your forehead.
But yeah, those were not 2 of my favourite hours that I have ever lived.
I'm feeling really guilty because that was a really, really well written one.
Oh yeah, and you messed it up. Yeah, you
absolutely
completely,
tanked it.
yeah, just destroyed it. Ugh.
Oh.
Anyway, the chat seemed to thoroughly enjoy it. Chat was a particular fan of your Archivist voice.
Oh, you see, I'm not putting the effort in. I can do better. I'll home in. It's been a couple.
You don't
of years.
have like it's not like this stream is a marathon, not a sprint.
This stream is a marathon, not a sprint.
We're probably going till what 6:37ish.
Give me a test phrase. Just my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
And they're like, are you sure that's milkshake?
You sure that's milkshake?
What's floating in the milkshake? Is that... It's an eyeball.
What's going on? Okay, yeah, I'm homing in.
Chat are very much of the what is happening. I don't know. We're vibing.
We just vibe and then write it down, and that's how horror stories happen.
You know, the category of this stream is just chatting, so we're just chatting.
It's just a vibe, that's all. Big friendo vibes.
So, I'm up. I might go with the general one. Let's go with surreal. Ho 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 oh no, brackets Merry Christmas, brackets statement, humour.
Okay.
So I think the title of this is more like, ho 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 no, Merry Christmas. Set in an AU where John becomes a teacher instead of ending the world, one of his students is plagued by haunted mugs, not unlike Lightners. The fic centres around her encounters with the flesh in the form of a Santa grotto, after receiving an invitation in the form of one of these mugs. And then the room opens up. First there is a ledge, something like a gangplank that overhangs the room beyond. Those sagging, dripping presents drop off the edge of the conveyor belt into the pit of a room, cavernous in its size. Then there are eyes, black, beetle eyes, tiny and twinkling with Christmas menace. They are framed by wrinkles and white, wispy hair streaked in something dark and sticky. The beard stretches down below the level of the hallway. Beside her, Kit dry heaves. The Santa, which is a generous name for the thing that is more flesh than body, takes up the entirety of the pit. It is a giant, pulsing, bulging mass. Ko cannot tell where the red of the suit ends and the blood begins. Meat, she thinks, when she sees the wide, ugly smile of the creature, when she sees the teeth that she can only guess are teeth. Bone. As she watches, the face of the Santa gurgles, in a ripple of skin and flesh turns its face from where it's inset into the top of its own belly, down the side so that it is level with the hallway ledge. Ko takes an involuntary step back, its breath, that blood and meat and rot, curling around her and making her gag. Someone needs a fucking breath mint. It does not speak words, and only opens its mouth wide and tall enough for an adult to simply step inside. There is no exit. There is no mother with her children. She swallows down the pain that the thought brings and pushes through the copper in her lungs. What the hell do you want? She whispers like a prayer, fighting back the shaking that tremors in her hands. What the hell did you invite me here for? Santa just laughs, a great, booming, awful sound. All I want for Christmas is you finishes and starts again. She can guess the answer, and she hates it. She hates that she came here for answers and got met with this bloody, writhing thing that stinks of rot and flesh. She hates that it won't speak, won't tell her what is happening. Go. Go, we need to go. She doesn't know which one of them is speaking, or maybe it's both. But her feet are lead and that gaping mouth is so close, and she came here for a reason. She is getting her answers, so help her. She stands her ground. Why me? Ko roars into the face of a mockery, of a gluttonous thing that eats and eats and only grows. Why am I the one to get the mugs? What makes me your collector? What do you want with me? And it only grins at her and laughs in bile and meat.
They absolutely nailed your cadence.
Yeah, fucking yeah.
I'm
sorry, am I allowed to swear in this stream?
It's a pre-watershed one. Let's just minimise it.
Sorry.
But
yeah, no, they nailed that. Like,
nailed the cadence.
Interesting that it was labelled as humour because it's got a big monstrous Santa, but that is.
I hard disagree. Like that would absolutely have sat in an episode.
Yeah. No, that's
I wouldn't have batted an eyelid.
No, because it is one of those ones that really like hits that level, that sort of thin. It's Monster Pig. It's taking the absurd and the horrific and sort of balancing so that the absurdity rolls into the horror. No, that was excellent. Like
genuinely, at the risk of overstating, like if that had have landed in my lap as a first draft, I'd have been like, yeah, cool. There's some tweaks that we can do here, but yeah, good, nice standard one, Jonny. Keep them coming.
Apparently the rest of it is humour. Well, that's fine. But counterpoint, surreal. Chuck in the humour. Start writing some proper horror.
You got the knack.
You got it. Yeah.
The knack. Yeah. This is gonna sound like an odd sentence, right? For me, you can tell if horror has heart, and by that I mean like kind of bloody and beating in your hand. Like it has an oomph. You know what I mean?
If this is what you're writing when you are like
phoning it
riffing,
in.
When you're riffing on an established style, absolutely keep writing some horror. Find your voice, and that's really good work.
I mean, also borrowing Jonny's because you got.
I mean, also yeah. I've
to the wall on that one.
I've nicked it from plenty of other places, so you know.
All right. Okay, let's see what we got. It's been a while since we did a John Martin. We should do one of those.
Yes, and then I think maybe take a short break.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I want to get another cup of tea for my voice.
Okay, let's go with. Whoa, Comfortably Numb. Post-lonely exit.
Numb by Becky Gregory. Ooh, angst. Yeah, this was the one I was like, because most of these say fluff. This one does not say fluff. It says angst. So I was, that was the one I was earlier like, ooh, maybe we'll go. And then I was like, no, let's go for something else. But this one, let's see.
You can read John, okay? Honestly, it made sense that anger was the first to return. It had been the last to leave Martin. The thing he'd clung to until the moment Peter had flung him out of reality and onto that beach. Anger had burned the other feelings out of him, had filled the hollow spaces left with contempt. For Peter and Elias and all the others that moved people like chess pieces in their twisted games. For the fears. For the people he had gotten into this to save, who seemed to be actively trying to make his work as difficult as possible. For John, who finally saw him, But it was too late. And then the beach. The anger had vanished, and there was nothing left to replace it. Martin had no concept of how long he knelt there before John had appeared. I really loved you, you know. He barely registered his own voice. It didn't matter. He was talking to a ghost of a feeling. Then, the haze was broken. Suddenly, John's face was there in startling clarity. The rush of reality's return hadn't come as John led him from the fog. The emptiness stayed with him through the chaotic escape from the Institute, kept him mute through the trip north, and now made him stand frozen in the small stone cottage as John moved hastily around the room, opening windows to let out the stale air that filled the tiny space. Martin's gaze tracked in, noting just how many times John's eyes would also seek him out, as if making sure he was still there. Each time they found him successfully, the corner of his mouth turned up in a shy smile. He knew that there was something he should feel in response, but he didn't anticipate it to be this sudden flare of anger that burned in his chest where nothing had been a moment prior. "Stop looking at me like that." John flinched and turned to face him fully.
Like what?
"Like you want something from me. Like there's actually anything left of me for you to even have."
Martin, I thought...
You thought what? That after nearly a year of fighting for all this on my own, that we'd walk out of the fog and everything would just be better? That I'd still be the same love-struck idiot I was when you left me in the archives to go save the world? You died, John, and Tim died, and Sasha died, and I don't even get to mourn her because what I miss is just the thing that it killed her and wore her life. I wasn't even a challenge for Peter. I was a goddamn natural at it. It's too much. You look at me like that, and all I want to do is disappear again. There was a silence for a moment before John broke it with a raw, cracked voice.
Right. Loved. Past tense. Boom!
Another really well written one.
Your feelings. How do those tears taste? Salty, I bet.
Hey, Becky. You and I, we are kindred spirits. That's good. More of this. Very on board. Good. Very on board. Well written, though. Genuinely, very well written. I'm going to be honest. I was expecting lots of like silliness, and actually, there's been really like
we've had a lot of silliness. Let's not.
Sure, but I underestimated. I think I underestimated like how into it I'd get. I'm having an interesting time. I'm neurons are firing.
There's a lot of really good writers write fanfic.
Absolutely. Right, so, should we grab that break and then come back?
Let's take a short break. Say back at 20 past?
Sounds great.
Cool. Alright. See y'all in some minutes. We're back!
Hello.
It's like we were never gone.
More or less. I mean, in a lot of ways, isn't that just like the theme of this entire stream?
Although I had just I made myself a cup of tea in the interim, and it's in a London Podcast Festival mug. But the thing is, the way I've got to drink from it on stream makes it really look like I'm doing product placement. Right.
No.
Delicious.
You're gonna get
all the better because
it's
in my London Podcast Festival.
You're gonna get us Twitch. Right. You're up.
Right.
I did Hankst. It's your turn.
You did Hankst. Okay. Ooh, there's only a couple in category 3 other ships. But let's go with Molly Scales, Never Love an Anchor, brackets Gertrude/Agnes vibes. Now, I don't know what the word vibes means in this context, but I'm keen to find out. Okay. Molly Scales, Never Love an Anchor. Gertrude and Agnes burned down hilltop roads together in 1974. There's a slight possibility Gertrude's in love. Gertrude Robinson had been burning long before she met Agnes. She'd just never thought to use kerosene. Reckon that'll do it? It hardly mattered. A few more years and the house on Hilltop Road would tumble in by itself, but something told her Agnes Montague would never accept a quiet death, not when anything could be an altar, if one knew how to pray. Gertrude knew little else, nothing beyond the bright eyes beside her. They reminded Gertrude of stargazing, knowing the light that reached her was already dead. She'd always found that light beautiful, let it sear itself onto her eyes, keeping her company when she closed them. Agnes nodded. She seemed to have conjured the tinderbox out of air. Gertrude wondered what the Desolation's daughter dreamed of, if her nightmares tasted of ash, if secret hopes scalded her, if she dreamed at all. "Do you need matches?" The silence bristled, then curled at Agnes's feet. "I mean, can't you—" Agnes smiled. A single flame flickered, making light of her index finger. Gertrude wondered idly whether she should take up smoking. Agnes's voice was soft when it came.
"I can. I could also set the whole street ablaze."
"Why don't you?" She hated her voice's thrill.
"For the same reason that you and yours take the terror of others."
Dark gods on Agnes's tongue, and still Gertrude couldn't tear herself away.
"Sometimes it does well to worship in our own ways."
"Tell that to my fingers," she shot. "They're freezing. Not a problem for your lot, I suppose." Agnes's eyes crinkled. It wasn't mirth, but it wasn't half bad.
"If it is warmth, you see, Darkivist, I have nothing to give."
She could feel heat radiating from the girl, warping the breath in her throat. Maybe that was just the way Agnes said her name. "You'll forgive me if I find that hard to believe." Agnes hummed.
"Believe what you choose. It changes nothing."
Says the Messiah. Gertrude had a war of her own kindling. It did not do to waste one's heat on monsters, for when she could cut her, not when she could cut hers out entirely, even if the matches trembled under Agnes's fingertips, and she understood. They didn't say goodbye. A mercy. The closest Agnes Montague would ever get to mercy. When she slept, the Archivist's dreams were not of stars and their clawing memories of what it meant to truly burn. For once, she was not woken by whatever watched from the shortening shadows. If Gertrude didn't know better, she'd have said it flinched, as if burned. But she did know better. She had to. Gertrude found it the next day. She'd been distracted, wondering whether Agnes would like the archives. She thought so. Paper burnt well. Agnes's box of matches. Not wood, as she'd suspected. Tin. It started a memory, something she knew once. A toy soldier, a heart in flame, a book discarded in childish impatience. She had known how the story would end. That's fun.
Quite well. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Did we ever do Gertrude Agnes direct interaction?
No. Agnes is as a lot of the fandom will tell you, Agnes is one of the characters from the archives that was, like, I would probably admit, never used to her fullest potential.
Let me be clear. Sorry. I think I've misspoken. Have we ever alluded to this level of direct conversation between Gertrude and Agnes? I don't mean that, like, know we never really did much as much.
They definitely. I think they spoke. I think it is reported that they spoke in canon once. I think.
I'd have to double check the record.
There's definitely that, like, a connection thing there. Because of the circle in Scotland.
Yeah.
But they I think they met once in canon.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I like that. It was very well written. It's like I find myself with less to say often about the ship ones, because I'm like, yes, that's a good exploration of a relationship, well written.
Game recognized game. Okay.
Whereas I've realised that, like, you know, I'm like, yeah, this is a good shit one. This is a good, yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, this really explores the relationship. A fucked up Santa.
Yeah, that is, in fairness, that is very you. Okay, I'm gonna suggest There was I'd make a deal with God. It's in a script format, so I reckon we'll be able to do that as a direct.
Okay. El Compositor. This is script format fluff/humor.
Okay.
TMA excerpt. John and Martin switch places. Martin's the archivist and John is the archival assistant. Excerpt is Georgie and Melanie talking about John.
Georgie and Martin.
Okay, so I've got to do. Georgie and Martin. Sorry. So this is I've got to do my best, Georgie. Okay.
Early season 3, Martin is hiding out at Georgie's, but Georgie is still John's ex, not Martin's.
Right. Okay.
Listen, I actually wanted to ask you about something.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I could really use some help from John and Tim on this latest statement.
Ah, right. Your stalker letter.
Yeah. I think I finally have a lead, at least, but it's not the sort of thing I'm going to find on Google, you know. So it'd be really helpful if I could get John to look into it for me.
But you can't reach out to him for mysterious reasons, so you're hoping I will do it.
Yes. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't really talk to John.
You don't? I thought you two were friends.
Oh, that's certainly one way to put it. We were very good friends, and then had a very big falling out.
Oh? Oh. Ah. Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can say no, obviously, but if John isn't, used to you contacting him anymore, if John isn't, used to you contacting him anymore, it seems likely he'll know anything from you is actually from me, right? That way, no traceable proof that he's in touch with me, and I still get my answers, but if you're...
It's fine, Martin, I'll do it.
Oh, really?
I mean, if this is actually as serious as it seems to be, then yeah, obviously I'm going to help.
Oh, blessedly less petty than I am.
I've had a bit of time to cool down since John and I broke things off. I'm honestly pretty glad that he's got someone like you to look out for him.
Oh, well, he's not, I mean, we're not...
Okay, sure.
Am I really that obvious?
You aren't the only one. Just a word to the wise. I know he's a tasty-looking snack, but rein your fantasies in now. John doesn't really do carnal pleasures.
But gee...
I'm just saying.
And I'm just saying that the sexuality of my employees is none of my business.
If you say so.
And in any event, even if it was my business, which it firmly isn't, it wouldn't be an issue anyway.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, lover boy. Eat your soup. Then tell me whatever it is you want to send to John.
Fine.
You know, you might be even cuter than he is when you're flustered.
Georgie, I swear to...
Click.
And then, yeah. I genuinely... So that was interesting, because it occurs to me, like, I was doing it slightly differently. Martin has to be more authoritative if he's the archivist.
Yeah, it's a weird, like... There's...
You can't play Martin exactly the same. He must change. It's physically impossible to have Martin as Martin and the archivist. Although I must confess, I've genuinely, which is stupid now I think of it, I've never considered a John Martin role switch in terms of Martin as the archivist, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I think it's
never occurred to me.
Well, no, like I mean, I know why it is. It's because you're like me. You think of these characters quite structurally, in terms of who they are and thus what role they play in the story. Like, it's, and so like for us, these characters are puzzle pieces. And so we are always looking, oh, where does this puzzle piece fit? What's an interesting place for this to slot in? We're never thinking, oh, what if I take off this nodule and put on this nodule? What if I change the shape of this piece to fit in somewhere else?
Really good way of putting it, yeah.
Whereas
genuinely, it's just never occurred. Not
whereas
even,
I think a lot of people are like, I really love this piece. I wonder if there's any way I could adjust this piece so it fit in there. You know?
You must be bang on, because as you're saying that, I'm like, that's a good explanation, and it feels like the most alien thought I've ever held.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. It's like
that's really weird. I've never.
It's just how we approach stories and characters. I think it's because we are more concerned with story than character. So character serves the story rather than the vice versa.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That was interesting.
It's one of the reasons fandom and fanfic is so good, because like it's so many people that they will always take and look at things in ways that you never thought to. But that's all right. Yes, I saw someone halfway through being like, "Oh, you could just get Sasha from the next room." And I'm not getting Sasha from the next room for this stream for a very simple reason. Yesterday, Sasha finished a colossal editing job that has taken
congratulations on finishing it.
And so today, Sasha is just solidly playing Jedi Survivor, which has just come out.
From what I understand, it was a editing job.
It was yeah, like it should not have been as big a job as it did. It just came at a time when like it spiraled both for internal and external reasons. But anyway, it's done now. So Sasha is having a day to play the new Star Wars game because goodness,
it was out. I didn't know it was.
It's out literally today. It's out literally today, which I think might be one of the things spurring them getting the job done. So at this point,
okay. Fun fact that I only learned about Jonny recently. Did not Joe know how into Star Wars Jonny is?
To be fair, so Sasha has Star Wars stapled to their soul. And
you're not of the two.
I always like really liked Star Wars growing up, but since being with Sasha, that has become like a lot more full. But even then, it tended to be older stuff. Whereas it's actually a very specific podcast. Some people from another podcast I followed started a Star Wars podcast where they were watching all through the Clone Wars. And we started watching through and like having thoughts and like actually getting into a lot of the current stuff, most of which is very bad, but Andor is really good.
Still not finished it. Not had a
it's
shot.
Good. What have you? Do you enjoy it? You having a good time?
Progressing. It's getting steadily better, and that's not because it had a bad start, but it ticks up in a way that I see why everyone's. Yeah. See why everyone's into it.
It's such a I'll be honest, loving Star Wars is hard because most of it is not great. So getting a show that was just like, this is legitimately really good.
I'm a big fan of I can't remember the performer's name. The one who is masking as a arts dealer type dealy.
Yes. Thor. Stellan Skarsgård. Yeah, thank you, Crutch.
I like his work anyway, but I like that character.
He's great. Have you got to his speech yet?
No.
You got.
I'm past the halfway point, but I've got a little bit more. I love a good speech. Speaking of,
but that does actually make me think. I said before, I don't have the fan fiction impulse in me, but there is one area where I do, where for some reason the urge to add my own spin to existing things comes out, and that is sorry, what? I didn't actually hear the first word. I heard erotica.
I'll find out if chat heard, and if they did, then it's a hilarious bit, and I'll never tell you.
Fair enough. But there's some added Alex keyboard smashes, so I think they heard. But for me, it is assembling little armies for tabletop games. Like there, like every time I'm like, oh, like when I was younger, I was like, oh, I'll build a little Imperial Guard army for Warhammer, and then I'd suddenly find that I had like pages of lore for my. Oh, okay, no, they didn't hear. They didn't hear what the joke was. What did Alex say?
Oh, I said it was, Stella Firma Erotica.
Stella Firma Erotica.
Specifically.
Yes, absolutely. I always ship. Basically, it's mostly to be fair, it's not strictly Stella Firma. It is slash fiction of all Tim's characters with Tim
With each other.
and each other. Just all, But yeah, I always end up just making like, and it's always irritating because it's always like the best pieces are always going to be like the characters in the world, and they're like, do you want to use like this actual character? I'm like, no, I've made my own, thank you. I will use the generic
Imperial
piece.
Guardsman number 367922. Oh,
And this is because me and Sasha have recently gotten into Star Wars Legion, which is why I think of it, which is quite a fun little Star Wars miniatures game, and goodness, I could tell you so much about my Gungan rebel cell leader, Bofa D's nuts.
Open offer. If you're ever Ofa D's nuts, by the way.
Yeah,
best
great
Gungan
Star Wars
name.
name. But great Star Wars name.
Gungan name. Absolutely on board with it.
Yeah.
Has a son, sucker. Yeah.
Sorry.
Has a son, sucker.
No. But his cell is based out of one of the moons of Ligma, which is an old Gotal mining world, taken over, which was obviously taken into Imperial control quite early in the Galactic Civil War era. It's run by the Corellian Mining Corporation. Well, or at least it was.
This is why when we make things together, I forbid you from picking names for at least 6 months.
Anyway,
read your stories, Jonny. Go read your stories.
Anyway, I could tell
I
you so much about his attitude towards droid sentience
thing
and
of
rights.
like, oh my god, just read the thing, Jonny. Why aren't you reading? Read the thing. I've no idea.
It's kind of mixed. Okay. It's on a half. So I think the two representative ones are Francis Frantic Thoughts, Jonny, I need 20k words about this, please. And Edge Dancer 77, all caps, stalling.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm gonna go with the first one on the list, which I think we haven't been going with because like it feels a bit pedestrian, bit commonplace to just start at the top and go down. So I'm gonna go with Liss, The Dangers of Drink, Fluff/Human.
Flushing human.
Fluff/humor.
It's
Fluff/humor.
Fluff human humor. It's fine.
It's not flush/human. It's fluff/humor. A fluff piece involving John and Martin getting tipsy at the safe house and John being dramatic.
Okay, I'm on board.
They'd picked up a bottle of what Martin had thought was regular cider, but upon serving, turned out to be much darker and stronger. A couple of glasses each, and Martin was pleasantly relaxed. John, on the other hand, was leaning heavily against his side, bony shoulder digging in as he gestured wildly in an attempt to remember what he'd been talking about. And, it's been... He paused again, frowning before continuing with careful enunciation. Postulated that, in fact, it's not even true,
Oh.
Martin couldn't keep the amusement out of his voice, lips twitching as he fought against the smile he needed to suppress. If John noticed how much he was enjoying this, he might stop. Yes! But, of course, no one knows about that. John sat up for all of 3 seconds before wavering and slumping back against Martin with surprising force. That did it. Martin couldn't keep himself from chuckling any longer. He wrapped his arms around John, pulling the smaller man against his chest. At first John relaxed into him with a contented sigh, but Martin felt him tense a moment later as he muttered something incomprehensible into his jumper.
Was that John?
Not drunk, Martin. I know you think I am, but John laughed softly, making a dismissive motion with his hand that almost knocked Martin's glasses off. Whether the mildly discontent sound he made afterwards was because he realised that, or because his own glasses pressed uncomfortably against his face when he tried to bury his face entirely in his boyfriend's chest, wasn't clear.
So this is just normal clinginess, then?
Martin teased, gently removing John's glasses from his face. He glanced at the lenses as he folded the arms, smudged to hell and back, as he'd guessed. He wondered if John would ever think to clean them before putting them on, or if he'd see John's adorably puzzled expression when putting his glasses on, or if he'd see John's adorably puzzled expression when putting his glasses on didn't, in fact, bring the world back into focus. Yes, no, I'm not clingy, you're just very comfortable.
I'm going to get you some water so you don't hate yourself in the morning.
Martin replied, making his best attempt to look unswayed. It wasn't a very good act, but then John wasn't particularly sharp right now, so it had its desired effect. John's arm tightened around him, and he made a movement that Martin was pretty sure could only be described as nuzzling. There was a moment of silence. Then John was peering up at him with a playful smirk, visible eyes full of mistress. Do not think, gentlemen, I am drunk. This is my ancient. This is my right hand, and this is my left. I am not drunk now. I can stand well enough, and speak well enough.
Are you quoting Shakespeare at me?
Martin didn't recognise it exactly, but he got the idea well enough from John adopting a slightly slurred version of his theatre voice. That's fun.
Get posher when John gets
Sorry?
posher when drunk.
Yeah, I mean that's
Significantly posher when drunk.
Yeah, I think that's... Well, the thing is, the Archivist voice is a slightly posher version of my voice. And so in my mind, I think there is a certain degree of deliberateness to that. There's a certain self-consciousness to it. And so I suspect, like, it feels like it's an overcompensation. That, like, because it said at the start that he was doing it with deliberately over-enunciated. So to my mind, I think that's what I was channeling there with my performance.
I see. I have to confess to the chat that unfortunately, despite apparently having a comfortable sounding voice, I am not actually a quote comfortable person to be around, having been described closer to a walrus that's eaten too many coat hangers and won't stop fidgeting.
People are very mean to you, Alex.
They're not wrong. I am very angular and twitchy.
You're always like, oh, people always say this sort of stuff to me, and I'm like, who are you hanging around with? They're very nasty to you. Is it Hannah? Does she say this stuff to you?
No, she's more creative than that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I should be picking one, shouldn't I? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's go for a weird one.
Let's go for a weird one.
Oh, God. I nearly went, ooh, let's do author-fic name.
I'm excited to read author-fic name.
Look, I'm tired, okay? I'm still ill.
Oh,
okay.
Look at these tags. Fic genre as assigned by Jess.
Oh, those are some good tags. Okay. I'm going to do Jeanie B, title Meanwhile in What Used to Be Virginia.
Oh, okay. This is post 160 humour. So if you don't know what happens in episode 160, just, I guess you're about to learn.
Oh, no! Oh, okay, I'm going to have to do a really... Jonny, can I formally request...
Oh, yes!
Can I formally request you do an American accent, or am I going to have to do the bloody American accent?
I can... yeah.
Yours is pretty solid.
Is there dialogue specifically, or is it the whole thing? Because I'm looking at this one, but the formatting...
I'm not sure on the formatting.
Okay. Oh, so I think the central italics are the dialogue. So I'll read them.
Okay. Okay. No, here's what we're gonna do, Johnny.
Right. Yep.
This is the director and me. We'll both have to do an American accent. It's
Yep.
very simple. You are the manifestation of all of the intrusive negative thoughts.
Okay.
Okay, right. It happened quickly, with no warning.
And it's absolute bullshit.
Arnold thinks as he trudges through the buried sludge-filled landscape, dodging quicksand, ravenous sinkholes, and other things. He's given up trying to understand.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
The Ashra Foundation fell to the eye at the same time as everyone else. Arnold thought, as the Foundation's head archivist and researcher, that he would have received a bit more warning.
Actually, hold on. Sorry, everyone in the chat is saying a Virginian accent. Do we know what a Virginian accent is?
Can't place a Virginian accent in my head.
Can anyone in chat
I'll need a popular media example. Sorry.
Yeah, someone who has a strong Virginia accent in popular fiction. It's southern. Very southern Appalachian. Okay, so a little more southern. Okay. So Southern American.
Give me a second.
Old school Southern. Old gods of Appalachia, apparently.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to channel. I'm struggling from cold. Give me a second. Look at my such a weird block. Give me a second. I can do this. I can do this vibe. Okay, 1 second.
Just do your best Foghorn Leghorn.
Oh yeah, I do declare down there. There we go. Okay. Oh, this is gonna be bad. I can't sustain it.
Yeah, it is.
This is with explicit apologies. I am not good at this, and
I apologize for nothing.
It happened quickly with no warning.
And it's absolute bullshit.
Arnold thinks as he trudges through the buried sludge-filled landscape, dodging quicksand and ravenous sinkholes and other things he's given up trying to understand.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
The Ashra Foundation fell to the eye as same as everyone else. Arnold thought as he Foundation's head archivist and researcher that he would have received a bit more warning. Any correspondence from his British counterpart would have been appreciated, but no.
Jonathan goes missing and suddenly he opens a goddamn wormhole to actual hell.
That's not why you're mad, is it, Arnold? You're not mad the world ended.
Obviously that's why. The idiot performed the ritual without even knowing. For someone who serves the eye, he's pretty fucking ignorant.
Arnold continues his crawl to the edge of the buried. At first, he managed to rescue some victims from their captors, but he soon realized there's no point. A while ago, he overcame the stranger with ease.
But I guess John did it better.
And the spider... how'd you say spider in that accent?
Spider.
Spider, and the spider never stood a chance against Arnold's wit. Arnold was beloved at the Foundation and quickly rose to the top.
But they never bothered to invite me for drinks.
He was regarded as a genius in his field. He even figured out the eyes-marking ritual before Jonathan ever had the opportunity to screw up.
But he never stopped reading my letters, did he? He got busy being the main character and never checked on his supposed partner. We both served the eye. We both tried to stop this. Why?
Why was it him?
Why did he become the Avatar, not me? I could have stopped this. I worked harder. I worked longer. I got nothing back. It was just me fighting this with no help or input. Not even my own staff would help.
The Watcher chose John.
He chose John. Now we're stuck in this wasteland, and His Majesty Jonathan Sims can fix it himself. Just like I've had to.
Right.
I fought all these monsters too, you know. I could have been marked. I could have been something.
Could you have really?
Of course. but even the giant fucking eyeball in the sky overlooks me.
Where does that leave you?
I don't...
Arnold looks ahead of him to the lake sprawling miles in every direction. Calm. Cold to his touch, and it invites him home. There's no point being a savior anymore, Arnold.
Who are you?
A kayak for one. What?
No, nothing. It's the kayak.
How'd you say kayak then in
No.
video?
It's the kayak.
Okay,
it's the Tim.
Okay.
It's the...
A kayak for one. Oh, okay. A kayak for one rises from the water at his feet. He wants to get in, set out, and forget.
I do.
Get in the boat, Arnold.
Okay.
Arnold sets out, marked all along by no one but himself. Not the eye, no deity, no accomplishment or failure. Just what he knew all along. That's why they don't want you. You're not for them, you're for you. For me. You love to feel this free. You deserve this. Lonely. Right, I need to know, like, that accent could have been anything from like a 0 to like a 1.
Oh, 10, mate. 10. 10,
Was it?
absolutely. Yeah,
So
like
like
as someone who's met upwards of an American, I'm pretty certain you nailed it.
I'm assuming that chat's like, I mean, I can't see.
Yeah,
chat,
no, they're all, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 10 out of 10, 100%. Oh, that one says it was Russian. Most of them are calling me out on just going on falling back into my Father Galahad accent from Magnus, which, like, I mean, yes, like that is the like, it's a Southern American accent I've screamed on stage a lot, so you know, naturally where my voice gravitates to.
I'm not good at Southern American text and all that.
Apparently my accent is too Kentucky to be Virginia.
Yeah, Johnny, but you feel pretty silly now.
Yeah, but they're all saying that yours was perfect. 10 out of 10. Suggest.
You're always so kind whenever I can't see what you're saying.
They said you sound like you're full of coat hangers. I don't know.
I'm a healthy boy. Right, Johnny, go on.
Yeah, I'm up. Let's go with. I'm gonna go with the second and last of the John Elias ones in the list, so we can tick that off, cross them off, and none of the people who absolutely hate it in the chat need to worry about it coming up again.
We'll do the thumb up thing again, yeah?
Yeah. So this is by Why Not Fly and In the Distance Thunder. And so feel free to, if you hate John Elias, feel free to mute. I'll give you a thumbs up when we've finished reading this one. So, in an AU where John was aware of Elias's plot and received his fear marks willingly, John and Elias pass a final night before bringing about the end of the world.
Shall I read Elias?
Yes.
I know you're not asleep. Okay, sorry, couldn't resist. I know you're not asleep, John.
Elias says in the dark of his room. Darkness has never agreed with him. He prefers to be able to see what's coming, but he must admit, John strikes a particularly fetching lump curled beneath the blankets. And Elias doesn't need to be able to see what's coming. Not tonight. As if I could sleep, John mumbles, curling tighter into himself as if he could deny the truth of it. The sleeplessness. His body. This world.
I thought one last stroll beneath the eye would suit you. Something familiar before it all goes...
Elias makes a fluttering gesture that is obscured by the dark, but in spite of that, he is sure John saw. The certainty rests warm in the bottom of his chest, like a good wine. Will I not dream? John asks. There's no compulsion, just a tight line of anxiety that is Elias's hand drifting over, soothing across John's forehead, brushing his bangs aside like a child.
I don't know.
Elias answers.
No one knows. No one has ever done what we will do. Ever. In the history of mankind. Everything we experience will be a discovery.
You make it sound beautiful, John murmurs, and Elias feels him press back into the palm of his hand. I should know better than to trust in beautiful things. Elias clicks his tongue in soft disapproval and slides his fingers down to trace a delicate circle around one of the smooth circular scars dotted across John's face. He knows where they all are by heart, like a favourite passage of a favourite book. All he has to do is close his eyes and see them.
I find you beautiful. What we have made of you, the experiences we've drawn into you.
John hums appreciately, stretching a bit as though he is eager to feel every inch of his own skin and resettle it on his bones, reclaim it. When you look at me, do you see your world, Elias?
You are the fountain of youth, John. You are the fruit of knowledge. You are everything men have died in desperate, endless pursuit of. You are legend.
In the bed beside him, the god yet unborn sits up and lets sheets drip from his arms like the scholar raps of ancient Rome. And what wouldn't Elias pay to have lived 1,000 more years beyond his own ephemeral lifespan just to meet John again and again in every age and paint him every colour a soul can be? Somewhere in the dark room there is just enough light to catch and glint off John's eyes. He is alive. He is alive, and he is whole, and he is perfect, and he shifts forward to lean his forehead against Elias's. Tomorrow we're ending the world, Elias, John says in a voice that holds every bit of the humanity he has not yet lost. I don't need poetry.
So that's another one that feels a little bit like changing the jigsaw pieces to me.
Like, because it's explicitly an AU where, like, where Elias is less evil and John is more evil, I guess.
But what's interesting about this is, and it's another one I haven't considered, but actually, like, it tickles me horror bone, if you know what I mean.
It's nice. Like, it is. This is the one we've read so far that is most. I'll be honest, this is the one we've read so far that feels most like what I was sort of low-key expecting from like the fanfic stream, because it's the one that's like, which is not to say it's not very well written, but it's very like
smoldering.
It's horny. It's a horny extract.
It's smoldering,
and I think I think that most of the extracts we've read so far have been quite good, but most of them haven't been quite as horny as this one. Very well written. That was Why Not Fly, writing, and in the distance, thunder.
So there was one thing of it that's like, so platonically for a second, let's go purely platonic. There is something creepy about the purely platonic, like someone just like that into someone as being like a perfect specimen. I don't mean like into them like sexually or romantically, just that level of like,
it's just like it's
idolatry.
I guess I think a lot of relationships have one or both people like putting the other on a weird pedestal. Like, you are always, to a certain degree, not just in romantic relationships, in any friendship, in any, like, you know, you only have your image of someone else, and like exactly, and you know, you turn that dial up to, and like I think a lot of real genuine problems and conflicts come from when someone's image of you hits up against parts of you that aren't factored in by it.
I think what people are seeing in real time here is, so this happens for me, and Johnny's seen it happen as well, is that's just sort of gone click into like a story over here as like a missing piece, not protocol, not Magnus. I've just gone, Okay, like log that over here for later. I didn't consider that angle for a character, but yeah, something's
a lot of people saying that the
brain.
TMA fanfic community, for the most part, is really nice and ace friendly. So like, and which is yeah. To be clear, that wasn't an erotic fiction,
No.
but it was a bit of a horny one. I picked the word very deliberately.
Okay. I should pick one, shouldn't I? I was going to say.
I just noticed in the chat, Small Horizons. So many of the horny John fics are also written by ace folks, which I love for us. Yeah, no, absolutely, live your truth. It's grand.
Okay. I'm gonna go with.
That's a very good point. Aaron says, I mean, the Frankenstein dynamic always has kind of vibes like this.
This is what I mean. I know it sounds stupid, like.
Well, it's like it's the Pygmalion story, you know, at the very basic thing. It's the ancient myth of somebody falling in love with their own creation. And how much are you falling in love with the actual thing, and how much is it like the idea of yourself as creator of that thing?
So I might get this wrong. And Janus blinked, or is it and Janus blinked? I don't know the name. Janus.
It's a Janus, I believe. It's a two-faced Roman god.
I'm really ashamed of myself. I'm drawing a complete blank on the name.
Well, okay. I mainly know about the god Janus because as a kid I had GoldenEye on VHS, and that has Sean Bean as one of the greatest of the Bond villains, Alec Trevelyan, 006, who is scarred on one side of his face, and so adopts the name Janus.
Okay, Janus it is then. So this is by EnbyNeti?
I think EnbyNeti, it'll be EnbyNeti.
EnbyNeti and...
Because it's NB, as in non-binary, and then Neti or Neti, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's EnbyNeti, but I apologise if I got that wrong. All right.
This is a time travel sequel.
A time travel sequel to Magnus 200, following John back to the day Elias promotes him. He and various characters, the three original assistants, Gerard, Key and Georgie to name a few, set out to stop Elias Jonah Magnus's ritual in its tracks and do it before he can find another pawn to replace John upon noticing him changed. Guys, time travel. Only hacks rely on time travel, trust me. This is a joke. I don't actually believe this. Okay.
I'm just trying to think if you're because the way you said that was like you are currently doing a big time travel project.
No, I got a lot.
Is Alex doing a big time travel project?
No.
I've not.
Okay, two things. One, I wish, and two is no. I got a lot of stick back in the day for saying that time travel is like undoable for good storytelling in RPGs, and then immediately used it like twice.
Okay, so there are certain things that I consider like unsolvable problems in RPGs, but like they are unsolvable problems that are really interesting to have systems try and like. Okay, so one of them is like horror in art, like telling a good horror story is not possible in an RPG. That's not to say you can't have good horror in an RPG or like the horror trappings of the horror genre, but you cannot tell a good horror story because a good RPG requires the characters to have agency in a way that is fundamentally incompatible with the structure of a horror story. It's why the best RPG for playing a horror story is Lovecraft-esque, which isn't actually technically an RPG. It is a collaborative story. It's a collaborative story game. So the closer you get to an RPG that can tell us a horror story, rather than be an adventure or an investigation story with a horror aesthetic or horror features. The closer you get to that, the less it becomes like a traditional RPG, the more it becomes a story game. But each horror RPG tries to address this in different ways, tries to like draw out horror mechanically in different ways, and so I find that fascinating. And I think time travel's much the same thing. Like, I think because choice is so central to RPGs, but is also like kind of antithetical to structuring a proper time travel story. It is, you cannot properly do like a sci-fi, like a fully realized time travel story that works in an RPG and still give players proper agency in it. But a lot of games try, and I'm always really interested to see how they tackle the problem, you know? Anyway, that's my...
I'm less on board with you on that one. I
Fair enough.
I'm tempted to challenge myself to give you the first horror game you've played that's an actual
Please
horror.
Please do. Like, I to be clear, I'm talking about this from a systemic level more than I am from a story level.
That's some mechanic you've never seen before. Don't you worry. I got them.
But like, no, please, like the same way anyone who wants to take it as a challenge, like, yes, I think I can make the first RPG that can properly tell a horror story.
Challenge accepted.
Please do, because I love that shit.
Right.
Anyway,
this story.
Time travel.
EnbyNeti and Janus blinked. The man standing behind the door to the archives is not Jonathan Sims. He cannot be. This is not the Jonathan Sims he looked upon in the library 8 days ago before calling him up to his office. This is not the Jonathan Sims he'd watched late in the evening, alone in the library when every other researcher had gone home. The one he'd pitied and held in contempt for his presence there so late was as much a product of his devouring curiosity as it was the result of his terrible, debilitating, crippling desire to please. To have his work and role and worth recognised, in a feeble attempt to bury his own self-worth issues under a veneer of professionalism, to hide away his fear of rejection under sneers and contempt and insults, to camouflage his fear behind his scepticism. This is not the Jonathan Sims Elias had chosen back on that very first interview. Oh, so similar to his current body's previous owner and his own interview. The one he has seen as a gift-wrapped little puppet, ready to be manipulated and cajoled and scarred into the perfect archive. This is not Jonathan Sims. It cannot be. This thing is not Jonathan Sims. This thing. This is no man. This is no mortal. This is no human being, no human creature, no avatar. Elias knows he should step back right now. He does not need to hear the swears and insults and questions of the ragtag team behind him, trying to chase him away and protect this... him, Jonathan, from his terrible clutches. He does not need Peter's hand to try and pull him back, only for the man to stagger back instead, more likely than not under it's Jonathan's gaze. He does not need a god, be it his own or another, to slip the thought in his mind or spit it out of a tape recorder in between stretches of eldritch static. He doesn't need any of them to know he should step back. Step back and back and back and run away right now. But even as his mind shrieks, he does not move. He stands frozen and does not blink and stares, or rather, is stared at. Explain myself. I do not...
Oh, sorry, no, that's meant to be me, sorry. Explain myself? I do not owe you a word, Jonah Magnus.
The voice that slips out of the thing's mouth is a jumble of voices, that of his host, only one among the dozens that sound out every word as if they were separate, yet edited together to construct a cohesive sentence. There is static underneath all of those voices too, an eerie, scratching, high sound filling his ears. Just like Beholdings using Peter's voice, Peter's words, to address Elias for the very first time in more than 2 centuries. The tape recorder spitting static and fury and contempt. As if this thing... No. It is as if Jonathan and the Beholding are...
one. Yeah, that's a fun one. I like that because it feels like the climax of something I've got no context for.
Right.
I'm like, oh, Oh, a lot going on here. Don't know what, but ooh, a lot of it.
I don't know. Part of me read that and just went, "Yeah, that's what you get.
Yeah, that's what you get.
That's what you get, man. If you build a god, it's gonna come and it's gonna get you.
Yeah. Don't build gods.
Don't build gods, people.
Don't build gods. Hi, I'm Johnny Sims, and I'm here to tell you, don't build gods. Well, sorry. The reason I got distracted halfway through is because someone in the chat put forward Dread and 10 Candles as examples of games that can tell horror RPGs that can tell horror stories, and so my brain was like Dread.
I don't think Dread can.
No, I mean like Dread is fun, but the thing is you cannot structure a horror story in Dread because when you die it's not random, but it's like you have no control over when characters die or the actual rhythm or pacing of it. Which means you can't properly do the build up. 10 Candles is good. I would say 10 Candles is broadly more of a story game than like a traditional RPG, and crucially, it achieves its aims by removing agency. Like you have less, your characters. You have less control over your character's action and fate. That said, I'm going on my memories of 10 Candles from several years ago, so I could be incorrect.
So here's a weird brain connection.
Oh, sorry, Maddie's in the chat. Maddie said I had a character die trying to open a locked door in Dread. Very horror story. That happens in Lovecraft all the time.
I reckon that...
Oh, sorry, yeah, my camera's shaking because it's on my laptop and I was shifting about a little bit, sorry.
Do you know the film Cabin in the Woods?
I do.
Bear with me. That feels a little bit like a game of Dread. By which I mean...
Yeah, alright.
Characters make it to the end who potentially shouldn't. And, like, there's a couple of bits where it's, like, just a random arbitrary death. It's just like...
I'll be honest.
Death.
I think it's... I mean, I don't like Cabin in the Woods.
You're allowed to not like it.
Yeah, I think it is... It is somebody it is like... It is Joss Whedon thinking he solved the horror genre after having watched, like, 3 horror movies. Like... Is it? It's like, well, this is how horror movies work. It's like, mate, watch better movies.
You got some hot takes today. You're in a
I'm like to be fair, get me in front of a camera for 3 hours reading fanfic, and like,
get weird.
here's my real feelings.
Right, you're up.
Yeah, I am. Oop. We're getting through them actually.
Sorry.
Someone in the chat says Johnny doesn't like Cabin in the Woods or the Mountain Goats. He hates everything I hate. To be clear, I don't hate the Mountain Goats. I just don't particularly get it. It's not. It's just it. Mountain Goat slides off me, whereas Cabin in the Woods, I'm like, all right.
So just to be clear, you're so like smooth that Mountain Goats slide off you.
Yes.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood.
Yes. I'm like an obsidian cliff face.
Jonathan Obsidian Sims.
That's me.
That's actually got a decent ring.
Oh no, it's the... Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Let's go with... No, sorry, I keep... I keep grabbing ones and then being like, oh, no, that's actually... we've already read that one. Or... sorry, my brain's all over the place right now. Let's go with ShinyHappyGoth. Post last.
Where's that?
Post Lonely Exit. It's one of the John Martin ones. Post Lonely Exit, script format, kind of fluffy.
Okay. Got it. Yep.
So, dialogue between John and Martin while exiting the Lonely and then the tunnels in episode 4 transcript format. Okay, these are 2 excerpts. So this is a work in progress, and these are 2 excerpts from different points in the fic. So, click. Ocean waves and static. Footsteps on wet sand. There are 2 sets, one of which abruptly stops, followed closely by the other.
Wait.
Martin, we have to get out of here.
No, I know, but will we be back in the Panopticon?
We should be, yes.
And Elias... Except he's not Elias, is he?
No. No, he's not.
He's really Jonah Magnus?
He has been all along. He stole Elias Bouchard's body when James Wright died. He's been transferring his consciousness.
Using his eyes as a vector. God, that's disgusting. But no, my point is he going to be waiting for us?
Well, the body of Jonah Magnus is still there, of course, but as for Elias, I don't know if he... Oh, you have got to be kidding me.
What?
He's in the Tate. Elias fucking Bouchard is in the fucking Tate fucking Britain watching a performance piece of a woman dressed as a squash.
Sorry, what?
It's inspired by Patong, the Hopi Kachina that... Right, not the point. The point is he strolls out of prison, makes sure I find my way to the Panopticon, waits there to give me directions, and then apparently just pops across the street to take in an exhibition. And he's letting me see him. I'm sure of it. What the hell is his game? Why does he always have to be a mystery wrapped in cryptic bullshit wrapped around a 3-piece suit? So I think this is from a...
Next
and then it jumps to another point in the fic. The crunching of wet sand gives way to footsteps on metal, which stops after a pace or 2. Their speech echoes in the new space. Martin, I do have to ask.
Yeah?
Before, you said you loved me. Past tense. Did you, that wasn't,
God, I'm so sorry that was the lonely talking.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, no, present tense, John. Very, very present.
I did get that impression, but just wanted to be sure. I mean, that would just be just my timing, wouldn't it? Lose my chance just when I figured out my own feelings.
And...
I mean, I think so. That is, I do. I just, sorry, try not to say this completely wrong.
Okay.
Lucas said that neither of us really know each other outside of work or crisis, that we're just in love with the idea we've built up of each other, and you know what, maybe he was right. Maybe I don't know the real you. But I want a chance to learn.
Oh, John.
For now, let's just say, I love you. I love the you that I know so far.
I'll take it. I love the you that I know too.
Pause, in which you can practically hear them beaming besottedly at each other. The Archivist clears his throat abruptly. We should probably table this until we're out of here, though. Unless you want our first kiss to be in front of...
Ooh, no, gross. Ugh. It doesn't even matter, though, does it? He'll probably be watching anyway. Oh, Christ, that's a mood colour.
It's not that he's watching us all the time, you know, He just
could be watching us at any time.
Foundational principle of the Panopticon, I'm afraid.
Killing him still out, right?
I do think it would be a very bad idea, yes.
Yeah, I thought so. You haven't got a Sharpie, have you?
I'm afraid not.
Yeah, worth a shot.
That's fun. I think that has caught definitely a certain like a rhythm of the speech that felt very familiar.
I'm just back reading because it was a bit longer, so I'm trying to make sure I've got it all in my head.
What was there? There was a bit where it was like, God, I was like, God, that's disgusting, and there was a little bit of me that was like, yeah, it is, isn't it?
It's the principle of the sexy panopticon. The sexnopticon.
Oh my God.
Possibly the least sexy word that's ever been
The
said. The
sexnopticon.
sexnopticon.
I mean, that's like, I'll be honest, that's the internet, surely. You know?
Beware, for the sexnopticon cometh. I'm tired. I'm delirious on meds. Sexnopticon has done it for me, though. Right, that's the title.
Sasha Neumann is saying sexnopticon. Which, I think... Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's have a look. Let's have a look what we got here. Let's have a change of pace. Change of pace.
Change of pace.
Maybe that, maybe... Yeah, should we go with... there are ghosts in this story, a post-finale body horror by Why Not Fly.
Sorry, there are ghosts in this story?
Don't be ridiculous.
There are ghosts in my story.
While I find this, why don't you explain the principle of there's too many ghosts?
Post-finale body horror. Oh, yeah,
It has very strong feelings on the exact
too many
number of ghosts.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just that there is a... Okay, so...
13 ghosts too many, Johnny?
No, if 13 ghosts is the number of ghosts that are meant to be, it's not about ghost number, it's about ghost inflation. I don't Google that.
No, please explain ghost inflation to our audience.
So it's just something I've noticed in a couple of, like, the two examples that spring to mind are the first series of American Horror Story and The Haunting of Bly Manor. And it's a very strong sounding concept, which is anyone who dies here, their spirit becomes trapped and they remain here as a ghost forever. And it's a very appealing horror concept. It's a really evocative one, but it's a trap, because if you're writing anything longer than a single movie or like a single story, then it starts to just, like, the ghosts have to become characters. The ghosts start to interact with each other. There are too many ghosts to keep track of, and let me tell you, the core question of, hey, is this character a ghost or not? That's not as compelling. That's a stupid question. If you think that you're getting, like, tension or drama out of the question of, is this character a ghost or not? You're not, because that's stupid. It's a bad question.
Now, I've been thinking on this a lot, because your ghost inflation theory comes up more often than you might think. Okay.
Yeah, it's BBC Ghosts. Like, it turns which is great if you are writing the comedy show BBC Ghosts, but not great if you're trying to write a legitimate scary story.
Counter offer, all right. This is a scary idea for you. That's I argue is the opposite. That ghost inflation is truly terrifying. 120-ish billion people have ever lived. If ghosts are real,
I think less, but
or you can see them, take a moment and imagine the hellscape that is 120 billion people wandering around dead. I think that's scary, but surely that counts as too many ghosts.
Okay, the thing is, it's existentially scary, but it's scary to think about.
Johnny, it's 120 billion ghosts. Mate, how is 120?
What are they doing? What do they look like? Do they look scary? What are they doing? Are they just hanging around?
They're all overlapping one another and hating it. It's like being trapped in a mosh pit forever, no matter where you go.
Okay, no, that's existentially scary, because that says that is like, well, when you die,
only getting
it is simply
denser.
Like, it is when you die, that is like you are just going to suffer forever, and like that's existentially scary. That's the scary bit of, like, your 120 billion ghosts idea.
I really thought I had you with just 120 billion ghosts. Like, just saying, it's 120 billion ghosts. Could you? Okay, hang on. What about a gear change narrative, right?
Okay.
You know, you got a story like The Others, and it's all creepy, and then boom, 120 billion ghosts.
Okay, but, like, you're evoking the concept of ghosts, but another problem with the ghost inflation situation is
The what?
the ghost inflation situation.
One more time.
The ghost inflation situation.
Carry on.
They're my new. They're my new band. They're like retro 80s electronica.
Yeah, absolutely. I can hear it in my ears.
But the other problem is that because they always want the core question to be like, or like it to be the reveal that that you thought you were talking to a person, but you were talking to a ghost. Because they always want that to be a reveal. It means the ghosts have to look and act in like mainly like people. Maybe people with like, oh, their lips were tinged with blue because they drowned, or this sort of thing. But like that just means that like it's just like a lot of if you can't tell that someone's a ghost, then that's a person.
Well, look,
there's just a lot of people in this house. There's just a lot of people randomly in this house, and that's not scary.
I can say definitively that there are ghosts in this story, and there may or may not be 120 billion of them.
Okay.
Ghost finale body horror.
Anyway, sorry. That's this is. I've just realised we are just riffing on the title currently.
I just like poking you about this very specific theory.
Evil Auntie has just pointed out ghost inflation situation, ghost inflation situation, ghost inflation situation. Are they really ghosts now? Who cares? Right.
After the show's finale, John and Martin wake up back at the beginning of season 2. But memories of what happened in the future creep back in terrifying and inescapable ways.
Elias?
John calls out, rapping the back of his knuckles against the door. When he'd passed by Rosie's desk down the hallway, she'd waved him along without a question, so John assumed Elias was already expecting him. He was a remarkably modern-minded boss, always seeming to make time for his employees to come and speak with him personally when they deemed it necessary. Come in, says Elias, on perfect, nearly uncanny timing with the end of John's knock. He had been expected after all.
Elias, I was hoping to talk to you about a discovery Martin and I made yesterday in the tunnels.
John stops dead, his hand still on the knob of the door he'd just swung open. Elias watches him from across his desk, straight-backed and hands folded neatly over the papers in front of him, although perhaps watches is an inaccurate word, given that where Elias had once had eyes were now gaping holes carved into his face. John stares, frozen, and the hollow wounds in Elias's face stare back. I can only hope this discovery is less gruesome than the last one Martin found in those tunnels. When Elias speaks, the muscles in his face contract, and the slick exposed red in his ocular cavity shift with them. Blood, as thick and fresh as if Elias's eyes had been carved out mere seconds before John stepped into his office, slips down his cheeks like tears. As John watches, a fat, red droplet spills from his chin and splashes crimson across the back of Elias's knuckles. Well, Elias says, cocking his head with casual impatience. He blinks his eyelids over the empty mutilations of his face. What did you find? John slams the door shut, staggering backwards until his back hits the wall across from it. Inside the room he can hear the shifting movement of Elias standing up, coming over to the door, coming after him. John's pounding heart is so high in his throat that he cannot seem to catch a panicked breath to use it to flee. Jonathan, Elias calls from beyond the door. John can hear the footfalls bringing him closer. Closer. What's wrong?
Where are your eyes?
He gasps, pressing himself flat against the wall behind him. Right where they've always been, John. Elias's voice seems to grow deeper and more sinister until suddenly the door is thrown open between them, and standing in front of him is nothing but Elias, looking over him with concerned grey eyes and a bloodless face. Are you quite well?
I thought I saw...
John doesn't know what to do with the adrenaline coursing through him, so it shivers its way out of his trembling hands as he slowly detaches himself from the wall. Elias holds out a hand and John takes it gratefully, letting Elias take some weight off his wobbly knees as they make their way back into his office.
I don't really know what I saw. That's fun. That's a nice little bit of horror.
Conceptually, I think we could have done more with visions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I think the issue is that because of the way that Archives was written, with like sort of
Yeah.
like it was very pre-planned, but also very on the fly in terms of like details. I think that I think if we had tried to do stuff with visions, it would have ended up being like J.J. Abrams' mystery box bullshit, where like the payoff would have been underwhelming because we would have had the idea for the vision before we had actually figured out what it was going to be for, which never lands right.
Yeah, I'll follow you there.
Also, I was seeing a lot of people in the chat early in there like proposing ways that a ghost inflation situation could work, and I'm like, I think the thing is, I'm not saying that it can never work. What I'm saying is anyone who dies here comes back as a ghost feels like a really strong horror concept, but it's actually a trap. It's a very difficult one to pull off.
Until you hit 120 billion.
Until you hit 120 billion ghosts.
120 billion ghosts, Johnny. You wait.
Is that
it's the next big?
Is that your band?
Summer blockbuster.
Is that your band?
120 billion ghosts.
Yeah, it's that one.
I'm gonna be honest. If it was 120 billion ghosts, it'd be like a really, really mellow Muzak album with just
120 billion ghosts. 120 billion ghosts is a late noughties indie band.
Ugh.
Sorry, mate. I didn't. I just speak the truth. I don't create it.
Read a story instead. Pick one.
Right. Francis' frantic thoughts. I think the thing you're thinking of is Kill 6 Billion Demons.
120 billion ghosts could kill 6 billion demons.
Wow. See, okay, we can't get into this.
As long as they're not dancing on the head of a pin at the same time.
Yeah, right. Okay, I need to pick one. Let's go with J for as long as he will let me. Fluff, kind of. Bittersweet fluff? Question mark. So. Somewhere else, John is free of statement-given nightmares, but plagued by new and horrible nightmares that are of his own, focused around it. That are all his own, focused around his own traumas. The first time he wakes up, 7 years after arriving somewhere else, and realizes he didn't dream the night before, is understandably an emotional experience. John blinks away the bright sunlight streaming in through the window. He feels groggy and heavy, the corners of his eyes still crusted with sleep and his mouth cottony. He automatically goes to snuggle back against Martin, but belatedly realizes that the bed next to him is empty. The bed is empty. There is sunlight. His heart isn't racing and his eyes aren't stinging with tears, and he feels groggy and heavy and rested. John sits up so quickly his head spins, nearly sending him prone once again. He stares at the bedroom door, ajar, letting in more of that light that John can't wrap his mind around, and the faint sounds of music and something sizzling in a frying pan. Then he looks at the clock. It's nearly noon. When John stumbles into the kitchen, gripping his cane tightly and messy hair tickling the back of his neck, he sees Martin standing in front of the stove, stirring something in a pan and humming softly along with the radio. John opens and closes his mouth a few times, not quite sure what he's attempting to say, but it turns out he doesn't have to. Martin sees him first, catching him out of the corner of his eye as he turns to grab some pre-cut peppers out of a plastic container. Martin's smile is nearly as bright as the sunlight that turns his coppery curls fire red.
Hey, good morning.
He crosses the distance between them and presses a chaste kiss to John's lips. Good morning, John echoes faintly. It is still technically morning, if only just.
I'm almost done with lunch,
Martin says, turning back to the stove. He puts the peppers in the pan along with a handful of mushrooms and carrots.
Do you want some tea? I can put the kettle on.
Yes, that sounds lovely. John's voice is hollow, scooped out in the middle. He sits at the kitchen table, and in what seems like the blink of an eye, there's a mug of tea by his elbow and a bowl of steaming something in front of him, smelling strongly of garlic and ginger. He takes a sip of the tea, and his hands don't shake. The corners of his eyes prickle. Then, Martin says, quietly, like he knows the gravity of what he's saying, like he's just as acutely aware of the oddity of this as John is.
Sleep well last night?
And John cracks. That's a nice one.
That's a tight little piece.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we can never say how tight any of these are because we are seeing 500 words out of question mark, question mark, question mark.
True, I would say though that works as 500 words.
Yeah, like I think, although like almost all of these have worked as little 500 piece flash fics. Though I think I would probably credit that with whoever chose the extracts, rather than the like. Though you're right, the writing there is very tight. It's very nice.
Right, I am gonna go with Redeath by Gallifrey63.
Redeath?
And I'll tell you what, I would read the horror based on Gallifrey. I think there are horror stories on Gallifrey that I would be interested
This is as in Doctor Who Gallifrey.
Oh yeah. I think there's a lot of. I think that is a utopia built on bones, and I would love to see those bones become 120 billion.
And this is AU, humor.
So the beholding mushes John into a thing of cosmic horror to get a do-over in another timeline. Crack fiction with a touch of serious. I don't know.
Hey Alex, what's crack fiction?
I don't know.
I don't know what's crack fiction.
Ask chat, they know things.
Hey chat.
Is it about like doing loads of crack? In fiction, like meth fiction or cocaine fiction,
Breaking Bad fiction. Oh, silly,
Martin, we need
silly,
to
not
Martin.
Serious. Crack fics are fics that aren't supposed to be serious.
Martin,
okay, understand. It's a joke. It's a joke.
What,
fix.
John? We need to cook. We need to cook, Martin. There's a crossover.
Smart and saying bitch all the time.
What do you mean he's entered a fugue state?
I really loved you, you know. Bitch!
Sorry, there's just a pizza on the roof of the Panopticon the whole time. Okay, sorry, that tickled me. That tickled me. Right.
You're up.
Okay. Leitner hummed in agreement with Gerard and took note of the current assistant's notable dedication to their boss. You all have quite a lot of trust in some. Wait, hang on. Sorry.
Oh, do you want me to do this one?
Yeah, if you could give me your dad, I think that's meant to be.
You all have quite a lot of trust in someone that isn't human at all. Gertrude spent 50 years as head archivist and never once delighted with the powers. It concerns me you're not exercising enough caution about the complete corruption of her successor.
Sasha sighed and leaned forward in her chair, looking down at the floor as she spoke. John's human where it counts, at least. I trust him to be.
Nothing.
Leitner looked a little surprised at the admission. Gertrude's previously observed, inspired loyalty generally resulted in the death of whoever dared to place their trust in her. Jurgen hoped the four individuals in front of him would have a greater sense of self-preservation, but perhaps the current archivist was just as good at manipulation as Gertrude had been. The group in the room were alerted to another presence by the sound of someone clearing their throat in the passageway, and a voice that most of them immediately recognised. Turning to look at the source of the sound, they were greeted with the sight of a very inhuman John standing in the doorway, absolutely covered in dirt, and carrying one bedraggled receptionist.
While I do appreciate the due diligence of hiding the coffin down here, I do appreciate the due diligence of hiding the coffin down here, but Rosie has a broken ankle, so best we get that taken care of above the ground.
Martin looked visibly ecstatic at the sight of the archivist, though avoided touching him for how completely filthy he now appeared. Sasha felt a broad smile across her face, and Tim rolled his eyes but mirrored her expression. Leitner looked completely startled at the monster on his doorstep and was stumbling backwards in alarm. John sighed and pointedly looked at the anxious librarian.
For having an identity crisis over the past 16 or so hours, I apologise, I can't exactly hide all the eyes at the moment. Oh, I think this is...
You're both of them, I guess.
Oh, then you take Leitner's line for this one.
What? What are you?
Annoyed. Honestly, I'd kill for a shower at the moment, so if it's all the same to you, can we move it along?
Tim snorted and brought his lips inside his mouth, covering his face as he tried to stifle laughter at John's response. Leitner emitted a noise that wasn't entirely unlike wind being let out of a set of bellows, and nervously wet his lips before answering in a slightly higher pitch than normal. Well, I certainly not going to keep you. I'll be here. You gotta. I'm probably gonna steal at some point the line. What are you? Annoyed, honestly. Like that's.
It's a good little line.
Good line. That's a really.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
That's the kind of thing that I'd give a sort of yeah. Ooh. Like that one.
We're coming up against time, so I will press on to the next one. I'm going to go with the other of the category 3 other ships. So the first was the Gertrude Agnes one. So this one is from Kori. The Memories We Make. This is a Tim Sasha angst fic. So, okay. The Memories We Make by Kori. Tim finds a picture of real Sasha that reminds him of happy times with her. He realises the memories are of not Sasha. He is very sad. Monday. Another fucking Monday in that godforsaken place. Tim leaned back with a groan and his eyes fell on the bulletin board on the wall. It was what you'd expect. A collection of delivery menus, a note about last year's staff party, and a drawing. He frowned, getting up to take a closer look. It was from Halloween a few years ago. A teacher from a nearby school had called to ask if they'd give a talk about local legends. John had hated the idea, saying it trivialised the very serious research they did at the Institute. So of course he and Sasha had immediately volunteered. If nothing else, it would be a great excuse to get out of the office for an afternoon. He smiled, remembering telling ghost stories to a room of rapt 7-year-olds, regaling them with tales of mysteries unsolved, of gruesome monsters and all the things that went bump in the night. Sasha's eyes sparkled as she detailed a particularly creepy case, and the teacher walked in at precisely the right time for the creaking door to send them all jumping out of their seats, himself included. At the end, one of the students had run up and shyly presented them with a drawing. He remembered teasing Sasha about it looking nothing like her, and she'd laughed it off. Maybe they'd used up all their red crayons on his shirt before they got to her, and glasses were way easier to draw than eyes. They'd explained the archives as sort of like a library, and didn't librarians always wear glasses anyway? Except... His breath caught in his throat as he unpinned the paper. Hadn't Melanie said the Sasha she'd met had long brown hair? And glasses? Just like the woman in the picture. Tim sunk slowly back down into his chair, tears streaming down his face as he realised he held the closest thing to a memory he would ever have. Oh no!
Game recognises game again. Yep. Nice. Good.
It's so sad.
Good. Yep. Approve.
I like these ones.
Chipped.
I like these ones that are really good at pinpointing a very specific point of sadness that we wrote and just blowing it up.
Oh yeah.
Because it's a lot of fun, and also there's a little bit of pride, and it's like, you noticed that, did you? Yeah. That is pretty sad, isn't it? Oh, isn't that a lovely bit of tragedy?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. What we got?
Luna Gale, Requiem of the Tower.
Ooh.
Introduction to Bad End Season 5, where after Martin's death, John roams the end of the world as the Archive. Now, to make a final statement on regards to the last of his humanity that exists beyond existence.
Alright, let's go.
I'll have to do my best, Johnny.
Yep.
Give me a test raise, Johnny, just the one. Thanks.
Yep, no, that's fine. You good? Hope that helps.
Fine.
Sorry, yes. Shut up, Martin.
Right.
Sorry, the thing is that this stream I'm still dialing back into the voice myself, so...
Give me a... Yeah, I'm good.
Statement of Jonathan Sims regarding the last remnants of his etc.
Yeah. There is a monster roaming the rotten earth. Once a man, now a lens to focus the eyes beholding. Only few could trodden the fear-soaked soils and say they can travel unscathed, let alone bask as he does. Each domain has a story, and the story must be told, and the eye must see and look and know again until the end finally takes its fill of them all. The beholding's pupil, the archive as he is known, is nothing but his master's tool. Through him the eye watches all other powers squirm and try to hide from its unrelenting gaze. They cannot, and if they try, well, that's why the archive roam. He has accepted this role long before he lost his first name. The monster was once known by many names, but only few fairly accurate. At one time he was known as the Archivist, and now he is the Archive. A simple difference in the grand scheme, but the eye thrives on such meticulous details and fine dotted points. Names carry weight like few others, so as the Archive, all know him, and he knows them, and the ceaseless watcher sees all. But a monster is not born a monster, no. To become a monster is a series of choices, and although this monster in particular was not beholden to their consequences, choices they still were. At one time there were people who cared for his reasons, but now there is no one. An empty space where understanding and kindness should be, and now, within this unrelenting landscape, only the web can take a passing care for the wise behind his choices. These choices were made by his first name, a hated name, a loved name, a name that he held desperately onto for far longer than its inaccuracy, because losing it meant losing the hope that he was more than the role he was designed to be. The monster gave up that name long ago, but now he remembers what he was. The monster was once a man, known as Jonathan Sims, and at the moment, despite everything, I am just that, a name long forgotten. I see. If that's how it's going to be, for nostalgia's sake, I suppose. Statement of Jonathan Sims, Statement of Jonathan Sims, regarding the last remnants of his humanity that exist beyond existence. Statement begin. Solid.
That's some angst. Ooh, that's some angst.
Solid angst.
Love to be angsty as I roam the broken world. Lovely, lovely. I saw someone ask in the chat if I'm doing my stream today as well. I will be 8 o'clock as normal. I'm continuing my Resident Evil 4 playthrough
because Jonny is a marathon glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
I think you got time for a last one.
Yeah, we got one more. So I'm gonna go with a little bit of fluff to finish. So what's a fluff one we haven't done yet?
Date night, maybe?
Yeah, Darkivist date night brackets quiet fluff question mark. So set in season.
Sorry, I've noticed it has a big old thing for it. Where is it?
Set in season 5, exploring a possible dark domain. John and Mark come across a place that doesn't seem actively hostile and try to take a short break.
Okay. So the opening text wasn't submitted as part of the excerpt, but has been taken from the original fit in order to provide additional necessary context.
Context for us. Okay, so give us a second to read through this. It wasn't submitted, so we can't read it out, but...
Okay, so basically
They're in quite a nice looking dark domain.
Honestly, is it me, or
peaceful.
does it feel vaguely like Parisian cemetery horror almost?
I think it's you. I was thinking of like I had British countryside stargazing vibes in my mind, but that's fine.
Oh, I see. I was going a bit more gothic with it, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the line before is so it's what's the catch? John interrupted him, his tone stern. It cut through Martin's sleepy memories and severs his line of thoughts. Don't. Try not to think about it here. He clears his throat. My apologies. You asked me what the catch was.
Please don't tell me it's another one of those...
No, don't worry. No children here, though. I mean, there are children in other domains, so I can't really see why... Never mind. This is the domain of dreams, nightmares, fairy tales. Things that are not quite real. Dream logic has a particularly strong grasp on this place, but, like I said, we're not in any immediate danger.
Unless I think of anything that could set this domain off. Sure. Got it.
Despite the sarcasm, there's no real bite in Martin's tone. All in all, it beat the hospital.
It's hard to avoid thinking about something when you're told not to think about it.
That's why I didn't tell you in the first place. John pauses, then adds in a raspy whisper, I could tell you a story about this place as a distraction. Yes, I think that's allowed. It doesn't come as easily to John as they're used to. In some spots there are only vague impressions of an image, a scent, or a texture, and he has to piece it all together like a torn quilt. Still, he speaks. Our host is quite ignorant of her strange authority over this domain. You see, she's been asleep her entire life. Even now she sleeps. In that house there is a hall which leads to a room, and in that room is a bed, and in that bed is our host, and in her head dreams wander aimlessly, and in those dreams we are sheltered for now. It's a precarious balance. Tread lightly. The house is an enchanted castle. The house is a labyrinth. The house is a dungeon. A hero walks through an unlit room after an unlit room, and though his eyelids are heavy, he keeps walking. The greenery has mostly taken over everything, and as he walks on a carpet of moss, he doesn't notice the soft crunch of a brittle bone under his foot. A staircase leads him down, and down, and down. When he was a little boy, he was afraid of going to the basement on his own. That was where the monster lived, his older brother told him. But he's not a child. He's a hero. He doesn't remember the monster, and he never thought to ask what made it so monstrous. But the monster remembers him, and it is waiting. It has been waiting for such a long time. That's nice, I like that one.
Yeah, I don't know about that being fluffy, but I like it.
I think it stops short of being horror. Like that did feel like a sort of like slight dark fairy tale vibe.
Honestly, that's something that we used to call a respite beat for season 5, where it's like you can't just be like blah, 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 all the time. You kind of have to drop in a respite beat, and that's a very
nice.
Very
yeah,
well.
Saz Adorable says it's like soothing, creepy vibe, which yeah. I very much agree.
It's no 120 billion ghosts. Let's put it that way. You know what my main takeaway from this is that I'm missing out on quite a lot of actually quite good writing by being unable to read Magnus fanfic. Like, there's some really good writing.
Yeah, there's some good stuff there. I
am actively kept from it.
I always feel that when I read a really good and I think this is maybe a little bit of snobbery inside myself that I need to work on. But often I find when I read a really well written piece of fic like these ones, like what I always end up thinking is like, oh, I can't wait till they write a book, or like till they write something that that is with like their own thoughts and their own ideas. And that's not like, and that's wrong of me, because actually there's nothing like, it's not more valid in any way, because like,
Jonny, they have an interest, so they must immediately commodify it.
No, I'll be honest. Yeah, no, that's the impulse of it's. Fuck, you're right. It's the someone It's the someone desperately scrabbling to make a living as a creative in 2023.
Yeah, forgive me, but that's
being like, yes, I can't wait till they use this to produce something they can actually make money off of.
Right, it's the old gig.
It's a nice impulse. I'm wishing them the opportunity to make.
You got crept up on. Capitalism totally crept and got you on behind.
Yeah, there it is.
Watch out for it, dude.
There it is.
As a deep victim of this particular problem, yep, it'll sneak up on you.
Yeah.
This has been really fun.
Yeah, this has been loads of fun. I'll be honest. I wouldn't go so far as to say I was dreading this, but I was really not sure what to expect. I was like, this could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But I've had a great time.
Big thanks to everyone who nominated themselves. You chose well in nominating yourselves. And big thanks to moderators. I think it's Jess and Meg today, and I think it was Jess who was sort of overseeing like organizing it and selecting the bits and blah blah blah. And if that is incorrect, let me know. But otherwise, thank you very much, Jess. It's made life a lot easier, and it was very very specific.
All right, well, I need to go and get some dinner because I'm on my own stream.
No. Go relax. Go relax. Play a game.
I mean, I will be. Like, to be fair, the reason I still do my personal streams is because I enjoy playing the games. Like,
we both know that what you're going to do is go, right, I'm going to wrap this stream up, go watch a bit of Star Wars being played, drink some tea, and then go play a game. We both know that's what you're doing.
I might get some dinner. I've got some leftover chili. It doesn't take too long to heat up.
I'm Jonny. I eat occasionally.
Well, you need to eat more, mate. Anyway, that's
that's beside the point. Right.
Sudden jabbing of slightly real talk. Alex needs to take a meal time.
Right. This has been lovely.
Thank you all.
Thank you for hosting, Jonny. Because
you are very welcome. It's actually gone much better. I really expected there to be at least one like proper like that. Alex has just vanished. It's fine. Anyway, thank you all for joining.
Help! I'm in the void and I can't get out.